Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to Florida's longest running radio show, the Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to cover, a lot going on, and we're going to cover it all and take your calls. If you're on hold, stand by. But yesterday afternoon, Trump did three big things. Any one of these three things is bigger than most presidents accomplish in 8 years. In fact, he did more yesterday afternoon that's positive for the American people than Biden and Obama did in 12. Any of these three things is worthy of a Nobel Peace Prize, and we're going to discuss them all. I'll tell you what they are real quick, and then we'll get into more details. And they came out yesterday late in the afternoon. The first was the announcement that the United States and China have come to a trade agreement. In fact, China are suspending those high tariffs during the final phases of this. So they've reached a trade deal with China. That's huge. After the big trade deal on Friday with the UK. This one's huge. So they got the trade deal with China. That alone is a Nobel Peace Prize worthy happening. And it's also proof that tariffs do indeed work. Then, a little bit after that, around the same time, it was announced that because of Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin and Zelensky will be meeting face-to-face for peace talks. And we're going to talk about all these things in more detail as the show goes on. But that's huge. In-person, face-to-face summit meeting with Zelensky and Putin. So that's the second thing. And those came out about the same time. And then a few hours later, President Trump posted Truth Social, 2 or 3 hours later, that today at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, he's signing an executive order to lower prescription drug prices to 30 to 80%, just depending on the drug. So all three of these things are massive. And not only that, these three issues, they're nonpartisan, universally good issues. There's none of them that you could credibly disagree with him doing. So we're going to talk about all these. If you're on hold, stand by. We'll go to the call shortly. But I first want to talk about the prescription drugs. You know, the rest of the world are ripping us off in so many ways. And maybe the greatest way they rip us off is with the prescriptions. Around the world, prescription medications are free or next to free, depending on the country. And the reason that the world gets free or nearly free prescription medications throughout the rest of the world outside the United States is because the pharmaceutical companies, which own our politicians and media in the United States, have our prices so high, we're paying for what the rest of the world is not. And there are so many people that don't take prescription medications or ration them off, meaning they don't take every dose or they cut the pills in half or in quarters because they can't afford their medications. Those days are over. Those days are over when President Trump signs this executive order. In fact, remember when Roseanne brought back her show, which was very good when she was on it. I did not watch it after they got rid of her over there on ABC, but I watched it when she was on it. And if it wasn't the first episode, it was the second episode. It opened with Roseanne and her husband at the kitchen table cutting their prescription pills in half because they couldn't afford them. How many lives will be saved because of this executive order today? Millions of lives will be saved, American lives. You know, this is the first president that cares about the American people. They're all sellouts. You know, the two things that the other presidents worry about, it's all donors, but the two biggest donors, one is the military-industrial complex. That's why they're always trying to push us into war all the time. You know, this summit meeting, these peace talks face-to-face with Zelensky and Putin, the military-industrial complex don't want that. And the reason they don't want that is because they don't want the wars to end. The 20-year war in Afghanistan ended, and like a few days later, this Ukraine war began. Come on. The pharmaceuticals, they own the politicians too, and they also have a big hold on the media because they spend so much money on pharmaceutical advertising. So they have so much control over the media. No other president would do what President Trump is doing, in particular with the prescription medications. You know, all these countries that brag about their socialized health care, the reason socialized health care works in these other countries is because they're ripping us off with the trade agreements, and they get their medications for nothing because we're paying for all the medications. This is one of the biggest moves any president has done on the medications. And there's a lot of very powerful people that are not happy about it because they own so many members of Congress. These kind of things aren't supposed to happen. And the pharmaceuticals are, believe me, they didn't sleep last night. They've been up all night in a complete, utter panic on the phone with all the politicians that they thought they had in their pocket, screaming at them. And they're also on the phone talking to the media that they own through their massive advertising to try to get them to put negative stories out there about this. And I got to tell you, I don't know how you could have a negative story in regards to lowering the prices. Now, let me read President Trump's post about this to Truth Social. This is President Trump on Truth Social at 6:22 p.m. Eastern Time yesterday. For many years, the world has wondered why prescription drugs and pharmaceuticals in the United States of America were so much higher in price than they were in any other nation, sometimes being 5 to 10 times more expensive than the same drug manufactured in the exact same laboratory or plant by the same company. It was always difficult to explain and very embarrassing because, in fact, there was no correct or rightful answer. The pharmaceutical drug companies would say for years that it was research and development cost. Yeah, I've heard that lie. And that all of these costs were and would be for no reason whatsoever. Some by suckers of America, born by suckers of America. That's exactly right. We've been treated by suckers. I like suckers around the world. They've been ripping us off. USAID trade deals, the medications. Campaign contributions can do wonders, but not with me, Trump writes on Truth Social, and not with the Republican Party. We're going to do the right thing, something that the Democrats have fought for many years. Therefore, I am pleased to announce that tomorrow morning in the White House at 9 a.m., and I want to thank the president personally for scheduling this after we go off the air at 9 a.m., I will be signing one of the most consequential executive orders in our country's history. Prescription drug and pharmaceutical prices will be reduced almost immediately by 30 to 80%. They will rise throughout the world in order to equalize, and for the first time in many years, bring fairness to America. I will be instituting a most favored nations policy whereby the United States will pay the same price as the nation that pays the lowest price anywhere in the world. Wow. Our country will finally be treated fairly, and our citizens' healthcare cost will be reduced by numbers never even thought of before. Additionally, on top of everything else, the United States will save trillions of dollars. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. That's our great president. Wow. That's amazing. When have we had a president who's made moves this big to help the American people directly? When? I'll tell you when. Never. We've never had something like this. This is beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. No more missing your medications. No more splitting your pills when you're not supposed to. And no more not getting a prescription because you cannot afford it. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you are listening. And we'll go to the phones after the break on this. And I don't see how anyone could take issue with this. How could you be against this? How could you be against it? Maybe we'll find out on the phones. I'm curious. Now, it is raining cats and dogs in South Florida this morning. We are in rainy season. We are in hurricane season. That means you want to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing if you've got a wet spot on your ceiling. You know, hurricane season is here, guys. The rains are the beginning of it. We live in the tropics. I know it's the subtropics, but we live in the tropics. It's going to rain like this pretty much every day for a big chunk of the year. And those of you that are new to Florida, you got a leak in your roof. That means that one of those tiles or shingles on your roof is loose, and that's what the hurricane winds are looking for, an entryway into your home. And that loose shingle, that loose tile, boom, next thing you know, the roof is gone, and it's on its way to the wonderful world of Oz, okay? Call Tom Laporta. Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing works on every type of structure, residential, commercial, and municipal, and he works with every type of roofing material. He'll never sell you a roof you don't need, and he gives you his personal cell phone number, which I'm going to give to you right now. He covers both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between. 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. That's 954-604-4602. Online, LaportaRoofing.com. We'll be right back. I grabbed some of my MAGA hats. Which ones do you guys like the best? Trump 2028. That's a good one. I like that one. Gulf of America. This is a good one too, isn't it? Absolutely. That's a good one. MAGA. These are only a couple of my hats. I've got a whole bunch more. Or our standard Make America Great Again. Which one do you like the best? I like them all. And I've got a lot more too. But I like this one a lot. You tell me. You like the MAGA? Yeah. All those hats are awesome. They're all awesome. Yeah, Trump 2028, I like that one a lot, especially today, right? This one they see coming a mile away. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, guys. You'll love my channel, I promise you. What an exciting day. If you're on hold, hang in there. I'm going to go to the phones when we get back. Trump 2028 people seem to like the best. Yeah. Why is that, you think? Why do you guys like the Trump 2020? They're all great. But why do you like the Trump 2028 the best? That got the most votes. I've got more in different colors, but because I got the green screen, some of them don't work with the green screen. You know, I've got so many. Here's another one. This is a good one. Trump was right about everything. It's a good one. I haven't worn this in a while. It's so big. I gotta make it smaller. Trump was right about everything. This one I don't think works with the green screen. Yeah, the gold Make America Great Again. You can see it's like transparent on the green screen, so I don't, you know. Then I've got an orange Make America Great Again hat. Yep. I've got more. These aren't even close to all of them. We're back on this incredible day, Nobel Peace Prize worthy. 3 things the president did yesterday, and we'll just take your calls. Let's go. What a day to celebrate. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi.
Speak up. You got to speak up. Speak up.
I have a cold.
Speak up.
Okay. Hold on 1 second.
You've been holding for like 15 minutes. I would think you'd be a little more prepared. Oh, my goodness.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
I can, yes. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Sorry. My name is Mo, and I'm calling from Maryland.
Okay. You're on the air. You called me. You have something to say?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I wanted to ask you a question.
Here we go.
Regarding Trump. Can you name, let's just do like a small number. Can you name 3 things that Trump has done that have significantly improved your life, like since he's gone into office?
Which term? This term, the first term, either term?
This one.
Oh, this term? Absolutely. Well, right now what we're talking about is...
what are the 3 things?
Well, you've got to stop asking the question. You've got to stop asking the question, and I'll answer. 1, today at 9 a.m., he announced it last night, what I opened with. He is signing an executive order, which they will pass into law, to lower prescription drug medications in this country by 30 to 80%. There are medications that people in my family take that I've got to pay for out of pocket. They're expensive, so that saves me money right there. Another thing he's no, hold on. You wanted 3. You wanted 3. That's 1. Another thing he's done. Another thing that he's done is shut down the illegal immigration at our southern border. The invasion has ended. Illegal crossings are down 99.99%. And thirdly,
you know that most people come in through the ports of entry. And
no, that's not true.
Actually here illegally.
You don't come in the ports of entry illegally.
You talk over people.
Well, you asked me for. I'm trying to give you 3 things. You asked for 3.
None of those 3 things impact.
Well, I only gave you 2. Yes, they do.
Specifically.
Sure. Yeah, I told you with the medications. I pay. Hold on. Listen. I'm not your. Listen. I'm not. Hold on a second here. I'm not your ex-husband. Okay, or your boyfriend. You can't interrupt me like this. You said they don't affect me. I pay for prescription medications out of my pocket.
Everyone does.
No, they don't.
I know. Most people do.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Do,
so
okay?
that's a direct benefit for me.
Are not insured. And the majority of them are children that are not insured.
No, you asked how has he helped me? I gave you 2 I wasn't done with the second, but with the closure of the southern border, he's lower.
Well, that's not true at all.
It is true. He has shut down illegal immigration at the.
It's not true. No,
yes, it's true. He has. It's down.
No,
yeah.
It's not. No.
I'll give you a third one. He's made all of us in America safer because putting Pete Hegseth in charge of our military branches, he's purging woke out. Right? No, he's purging woke out of the military.
Right? No. Hold on. You're joking. The guy that texted war plans about Yemen to an Atlantic City
that's not true. That's an Atlantic City reporter.
No.
A reporter in Atlantic City.
Hold on. No. He worked for the Atlantic.
You're that lady that called last week.
I'm not any lady.
Yeah. You called me last week claiming to be a rice farmer in California. Now you're in Maryland?
You're a really weird person because you can't handle a conversation and you can't even answer the 3 things.
I did, but you don't accept reality. All right, appreciate the call. Isn't that the lady that called claiming to be the rice citrus farmer in California? All right, let's go. She doesn't accept that the border has been closed down. I mean, come on. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, it's Sherry from Texas.
Hey, Sherry.
So I have a question. This executive order that Trump is to sign at 9 o'clock this morning, having to do with pharmaceutical drugs.
Yes.
Where does this place? First of all, it's supposed to benefit the people.
Correct.
One.
Yes.
Number two, where does it place the jobs of the pharmacist?
They'll still be dispensing drugs.
No. Where does this put? If this is for the people, where does it put the pharmacist?
I don't understand what you're asking. I don't understand the question.
Okay, if he is going to enforce, if he is going to sign an executive order on the cost of pharmaceutical drugs, you have pharmacies out there that you need pharmacists who go to school for 6 to 8 years to be licensed, okay, to disperse these, who work below the people who make these drugs. Where does it put their jobs?
Well,
if he's doing this to help the people,
we still need hold on a second. We still need pharmacists to fill the prescriptions.
Correct, but if he's cutting the cost of these drugs, that has to come from somewhere. Now that's you're looking.
Well,
at
he talked about it in his True Social post. The drug prices around the world where they get them for free or next to nothing because we pay so much, their prices will go up around the world.
Okay, so it's ultimately it's going to benefit us in the long. I mean, he's not going to.
Now, so far as pharmacists, most pharmacists work like at CVS and Walgreens, places like that. I know there's other places pharmacists work, but most of them work in the pharmacies where we go and fill our prescriptions. And I got to tell you, they're not the brightest bulbs. You know, most pharmacists these days they have PhDs, right? Who goes and gets a PhD to work retail their whole life? That sounds crazy to me.
My husband is a pharmacist.
Well, that seems crazy to me. That seems insane to me.
And he's been a pharmacist for 30 years, and this man is pretty bright. You throw him in the jungle, and this man can make any compound. You take the current pharmacists that are coming out of schools nowadays, you put a compound in front of them, and you ask them to make a compound, and you watch what their response is.
But why would you spend so much on education to work retail? Unless you're going to work like in a hospital or something, or a specialty pharmacy somewhere. It just seems like a lot of education to work retail. This is what will happen. I'll tell you what's going to happen.
Retail too. Okay, that's one thing, working retail. But let's go to compounding.
No, we're not going to talk about mixing of I mean, come on. You know, I understand you're worried that your husband might take a pay cut.
No, I'm not worried. What I'm concerned about is stealing from Peter to pay Paul. If you're going to cut the prices of drugs, okay, there are thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people that are pharmacists, and they are educated, Brian. Okay,
I know they are. They have PhDs. They have their degrees on the walls when I go to Walgreens. I see them.
Okay, but if you are going to sign an executive order, you are impacting the lives of millions of people in the United States.
This is what's going to happen, okay? I'll tell you what's going to happen. The pharmacy business in this country is going to dramatically change. We'll end up getting most of our medications like we get everything else through Amazon and online. You know, the days of waiting in line at your physical pharmacy probably are numbered because of this. That's how they'll reduce costs. Places like Walgreens and that will have to go to an online model. And Amazon already has an online pharmacy, so that's probably what's going to happen. But you still have to have licensed pharmacists.
How are you going to consult? How are you going to consult patients that have questions if you're buying your medications online and through Amazon?
They'll probably have people.
That's ridiculous.
They'll probably have people on the phone standing by, but that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, at a call center who are uneducated, who are sitting in a cubicle reading off a cue card.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this is the most absurd.
Gina, no, it's not at all. It's not at all. You know, President Trump is going to save so many lives. I mean, all of us know people who either don't take a medication or miss doses or cut their pills in half when they're not supposed to because they can't afford it. because we're subsidizing the world. I'm sorry about the
that.
pharmacist.
Okay, and we can. I'm not sorry. I mean, I'm looking at the reality of things here, Brian.
Well, it's going to be a shift in the economy. It's going to be a shift in the economy. Hey, listen, I got to run for a break, but I appreciate the call. She's worried about her husband. I get that. You know, it all hits home, but that's the way it is. Callers on hold, stand by. I'm Brian. I want to tell you guys this. If you wonder how I have so much energy. You know, I don't sleep that much. I get about 4 hours sleep a night. You know why I'm so well rested every day? Because those 4 to 5 hours of sleep I get are well rested sleep and total REM sleep because I'm sleeping on MyPillow products. I've got the whole MyPillow sleep system. I've got a MyPillow mattress, a MyPillow mattress topper. I've got the MyPillow. I've got the MyPillow 100% Giza cotton dream sheets, and I sleep like a baby. I'm in REM sleep. I go right to sleep, and I sleep perfectly. And my 4 hours sleep is the equivalent of 8 hours to most people because I'm sleeping so well. And, you know, there's huge savings site-wide. I want to tell you guys about the MyPillow Body Pillow. The MyPillow Body Pillow, which is normally $89.99, is just $29.88 with our promo code Kane at checkout. It is a MyPillow the whole length of the body. And it has that same patented fill inside. It is comfortable. You can cuddle up with it, and it's a great deal. But there are savings site-wide on the MyPillows, on the MyPillow sheets. So go to MyPillow.com and use our promo code Kane at checkout. All right, you can also order by phone, toll-free, 1-800-716-4879, 1-800-716-4879, promo code Kane. Sleep as well as I do. Go to MyPillow.com. Use our promo code Kane, K-A-N-E. Call us on hold, stand by. Back right after this. Welcome, everyone. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, all right? And if you're already subscribed, please like the video and share on your socials if you don't mind. This is an exciting day, guys. This really is a very exciting day. Oh, yeah. I understand the pharmacist wife. But do you guys agree with me? You know, if you're a pharmacist, you're good at math, you're good at science and chemistry. Why would you get an advanced degree, a PhD, to work in a retail job? That's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. You might as well get a bachelor's degree and then get a job in retail and make it in the management. It's too much of an expense and too much education to work retail. It's very difficult. You have to know a lot of math. You got to know science and chemistry to be a pharmacist. You can become a store manager and make that money. You can, if you've got that level of education, you could become a nurse practitioner or something. No. I'm talking with Mike. All right. We're trying to coordinate when we're coming back. Yeah, you got to be in a specialty pharmacy, a hospital setting, something like that. Not working at Walgreens and CVS. It sucks. Everybody's pissed all the time. I mean, they have PhDs. It's too much education to do that. Oh, I hate going to the pharmacy. It takes forever. All right, stand by. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Show. Call us on hold, stand by. There's 2 openings on our board at 1-888-465-2631. If you're just tuning in, President Trump did 3 incredible moves all yesterday afternoon. 1, he made the trade deal with China. 2, he set up a face-to-face, in-person peace talk summit with Zelensky and Putin. And then, after he did all that, at 6:22 p.m., he announced that he's signing an executive order at 9 a.m. today, reducing prescription medications between 30 and 80% through executive order, which will be made a law and stop the international ripoff of the American people on another issue. So many lives will be saved by these things. This is amazing. And I'm shocked that we've already had 2 people call who have issue with this. It's strange. I don't know how you could be against something so universally good. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Chris. I'm calling from Baton Rouge.
All right, Chris, what's on your mind?
Probably less politically related. Probably more related to that tweet that's right behind you right now.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, there you go. Open phones are on Friday. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Mike from Louisiana.
Hey, Mike.
This thing with the drugs, this executive order, this is a big deal.
No, I agree. I agree with Mike on that. It is a big deal. In fact, it's one of the biggest things the president's done in my lifetime. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. How you doing?
All right. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Maria from Florida.
Hey, Maria.
Hey, how you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Okay. I was listening to your show. I always be listening to your show. I heard the 2 lady was talking about the drug costs that President Trump gonna do an executive order to bring down the cost.
Yep.
Great. That is so great. I applaud him to do that because he have done so much since he been in office, and he have a mess to clean up. And I just want to address this issue with the 2 ladies complaining or whatever they was doing. Please don't complain, because at the end of the day, he was left with a mess, and he's just trying to clean it up. And you guys don't understand. You ladies don't understand how serious it is. Somebody that takes pain medication like I do. You don't understand how that feels to know that the President of the United States is willing to step in to help us.
That's right.
He's trying to help Americans.
And think about how that's going to bring down insurance costs, because they charge so much to the insurance company for the prescriptions.
Yeah, of course. Because I got a pharmacy drug. I have garden drugs, and my pharmacy, they pretty good. But anytime anything like what the president do, they always send us a letter and let us know, yeah, this is great. Your medicine is going to be dropped. So, I mean, honestly, I like this. I really do. And I approve of everything he do, because at the end of the day, like with the illegal immigrants, he brought down them entering into our country illegally. And he's trying to do more, You know, in spite of the judges and the Supreme Court won't get off their butt and do nothing, you know, it's just sad.
That's correct.
So I just wish people stop complaining and work with him.
All right. Appreciate the call, Maria from Florida. You know, this lowering of the drug prices by as much as 80%, this is something that you can already hear it from the liberals that have called me. To take issue against this is insane. How could you be against that? In fact, you all have been asking, when is he going to bring prices down? Look at what he's doing today at 9 a.m., right? By as much as 80% on prescriptions. That's so big, guys. I mean, and everyone knows this. So continue to take your insane position against it and sound foolish. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, good morning.
Yes? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's Joan from Tampa Bay. How are you today?
All right, Joan.
71 and rain today in Tampa.
Yeah, it's raining here in South Florida, too. It's raining all over Florida.
Yep. Well, I'm an old lady. Since 1980, I remember when people that live close to Canada would go and get their medication filled in Canada.
Yep.
And there's, I think, when I went to Mexico, you walk across the border, you don't even need a prescription for pharmaceuticals. When you walk over, I forget where I walked over, but it was from somewhere in Arizona. They're there trying to go, get your medication.
Well, remember, I'm sure you we've all heard that, out west, they organize senior citizens to take bus tours to Mexico just to fill their prescriptions.
Yeah. And you know what? Most of those things you don't even need a prescription for over there. I mean, It's crazy.
No, this is huge. And I got to tell you, the pharmaceuticals, they own the media. So the way the media handles this today it'd be very interesting to watch because they spend so much money on pharmaceutical advertising to control messaging.
Oh, yeah. Everything's brought to you by Pfizer. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And believe me, they have been up all night yelling at all the politicians that they thought they had in their back pocket, the pharmaceuticals. And then they're on the management, the owners of all the fake news media, telling them that they've got to turn the American people against their support of lower drug prices.
Well, you know what? Advertising is not cheap. Am I correct?
I would say it depends. I mean, I would classify it if it's when you're at that level, they pay more. The pharmaceuticals in the military-industrial complex pay more money than they need to advertise to have that extra control over those outlets.
Correct. So drop it because you know what? You go to the doctor, he gives you a prescription of what you need, and then you go fill it.
Yes.
I don't care about a commercial.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yes, I care. Yes, I care a lot about commercials. That's how I make my living. But I understand the point you're trying to make. Let's go. Let's see. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey,
I'm gonna tell you. I hate to do this, okay? But I'm gonna. You called on. Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
You called on Friday.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
You can hear everything.
I've never called before.
You called on Friday, and I told you it was.
No, I haven't.
Okay. Well, let's pretend that. Okay.
I swear.
All right. Well, okay. It's one call per. I know. It's one call per day. This is your second call. You can only call once per day.
Hung up on me.
Well, if I'm on the phone with my wife, one of us eventually hangs up, and I'm going to hang up. It's one call per day. If you call again, I'm going to have to ban you. And I don't mind you.
Well,
all right. No, you cannot. It's one call per day. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Alex from North Dakota.
Okay.
I was just wanted to follow up earlier. A caller had asked you what 3 things Trump has done that affected your life. I just wanted you to go over that again.
Okay. Well, I tried, but she wouldn't stop talking. But you sound like a more polite liberal.
Yeah, I'll try not to do that.
You sound like a more polite liberal. Well, one, today at 9 a.m., he is signing an executive order lowering prescription drug prices between 30 and 80%, depending on the medications. I pay for prescription medications out of pocket, so that's going to save me money immediately. Right there, boom.
All right, may I just say, that is something that has not happened yet.
It will happen at 9 a.m.
Something that has yet to happen.
Okay. He has lowered egg prices by 87%. He's lowered gas prices quite a bit, too. I was paying over $3 a gallon when Biden was president, and now I'm paying $2.59 to $2.60 a gallon. That's $2. You accept those two?
What about the prices of gas at the end of Trump's first term?
We're talking about now. You asked me to give you 3. I gave you 2. I gave you 3. You didn't accept 1. A third one is...
Well, one of them was something that literally hasn't happened.
Well, I gave you 2. So he lowered egg prices.
I don't know how I could accept that.
He lowered egg prices by 87%.
Are you saying that he lowered egg prices?
Yes. Or
could there be anything else? Correlation versus causation, like an avian flu of some sort?
No. That's not what lowered the prices. He lowered egg prices. He lowered gas prices. He also closed down illegal immigration from our southern border, which has made it much.
Because that's where all of it was coming from, definitely.
Okay, so those are 3 things that he's done for me.
But how many immigrants have you met?
Well, my daughter. Okay, I'm glad you asked. I meet immigrants all the time.
Well, I guess that's fair.
No. My daughter just drove through the southern United States, right? She just drove from Los Angeles, Arizona, Nevada, Texas, all these things on that southern road all the way across.
All through there, yep.
2 years ago, she couldn't do it because if you went to your iMaps, all those roads were in red. It was dangerous because of all the illegals that were there. Now that Trump has shut down the border, the roads are safe.
On iMaps, it said illegals. It said illegals are
migrant. It said migrants. It would give you in red, and then it would tell you that there were a lot of migrants on the road, and it wasn't safe. That's correct. And my daughter just drove through a safe area that she couldn't drive through before. So those are 3 things that he's done to help me.
Was it saying migrants be careful or
No. It was cautioning people to not. It was cautioning you that it was dangerous to drive on those roads because of it. So those are 3 things that he's done for me. You asked for 3, I gave you 3.
Well, I would still like to point out that the very first thing you said has not happened.
Well, that would have been 4. I gave you 4 if you include the prescriptions, which I took that off. I gave you 3 additional ones. Eggs, gas, and the border.
You're right. I miscounted.
Okay.
That's on me.
All right. Yes. Okay. All right. Appreciate the call. All right. So there we go. Oh, my goodness. All right. If you're on hold, hang in there. Jupiter Joe Thomas. People are always, the most common question I get from liberals here is, how's your 401k doing? Well, I don't have a 401k. I am not invested in the stock market. And the reason I'm not is because I don't like all those ups and downs of the stock market. And that's where Jupiter Joe Thomas comes in with annuities. I want you to give him a call. He offers free consultations to our listeners, no matter where you're located in the United States. Talk to him about annuities. With annuities, your money is not at risk. No matter what happens in the stock market, your nest egg is safe. And you'll have a revenue stream during your retirement for the rest of your life. There's many other great benefits, too. And this free consultation from Joe Thomas, you have a consultation with him. He'll ask you whatever he asks you, and he's going to put together a custom proposal just for you based on your situation, your goals, and your needs. And I want to point out the value of this no-charge consultation. Joe Thomas has been in the retirement planning business for over 30 years. He's a 5-time qualifying member of the $1 Million Roundtable, which is achieved by less than 1% of all financial advisors in the world. So he's a top man in the industry, and he's offering you a free phone consultation and a custom proposal. A lot of value in that. Give him a call. Here's his number, 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. If you missed the number, go to his website, jupiterjoe.com. We'll be right back. If you're on hold, hang in there. So what do you guys think? I mean, is this their new talking point? Name 3 things Trump has done to help you? I mean, I stream 7 days a week, Monday through Friday from 6 till 9 a.m. Eastern. I'm taking live calls like this, but I stream 7 days a week. We'll be back in 2 minutes. If you're on hold, hang in there. This is a radio station break. Oh, yeah. It's amazing. That's got to be the newest talking point. No, I answered the question, I gave him 4. He didn't want to accept the prescriptions because the order won't be signed till 9, so I gave him 3. I've actually given more because I gave the other woman some things he's done that I didn't give that guy. We'll be back in just over a minute. If you're on hold, hang in there. Make sure you guys subscribe. This obviously is where MAGA comes to talk. Who could be against the lowering of prescriptions? The only one that had any self-serving argument was the pharmacist wife who's worried that her husband's going to get a pay cut. But, I understand that, but doesn't mean she's right. "30 seconds. We're back. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We're celebrating the 3 great accomplishments just of President Trump's afternoon yesterday. He made a trade deal with China. He set up an in-person, face-to-face peace talk summit meeting between Zelensky and Putin. And today at 9 a.m., he'll be signing an executive order reducing prescription medication costs by 30 to 80%, depending on the medication, immediately. So these are great things. And we'll go back to the phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, good morning, Brian. Chris from Poplar Beach.
Hey, Chris.
Great show. I mean, well, I say great in that, I love your skills in trying to get out information.
It looks like the new liberal talking point is name 3 things Trump has done to help you. I mean, is that their response?
Since you mentioned that, I have to be honest. I mean, that's the worst case of never Trumper and Trump deranged syndrome I've ever heard, that first caller, because, and she's a woman, and she knows what's been done by the terrorists and the border crossings and all that with raping and murdering and all that, especially the women and children. But, if she was honest, she would never have to answer that question, because there's a dozen right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Obviously that, President Trump has made this country great again. And the border security it's got to be.
If he had not, if he had not shut down the border, I would not have let my daughter drive through the southern United States. In fact, when my daughter moved to California, she wanted to drive, and I showed her on the map where it was red and dangerous, and I made her fly to Los Angeles, and I paid to ship her car on a semi-truck all the way from Florida to California because it was so dangerous. It was like the road warrior out there. And now it's safe. Wow. My daughter and a friend just drove through all those southern states that had the red on the maps before because of the dangers from Biden's Dreamers.
Absolutely. It's the most absurd thing I've ever heard. She's just in complete denial. And that ought to make some of your average never Trumpers nervous that this woman is in complete denial. It's one thing not to like someone because they may be confident or cocky, and women don't like cocky in men.
Well,
but, you know,
I tell you, that woman's single. You think that woman's got a husband or a boyfriend? I doubt it. She's got to be single.
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that. I love it, Brian. That's usually one of my comebacks. Is like, thank God you're not married to her.
Oh my goodness! Oh.
But yeah, no. There's no way. There's no way she has a man in her life. But
no way.
I had a quick story about one of my coworkers from 20 years ago. 78 years old and should have been retired, rightfully retired, and thank God for this Social Security tax that break that's coming up with Social Security. He had to work part-time just to pay for his medication of $800 a month, which I thought was absurd.
That's right.
He was 78 and retired. And
crazy.
You know what? It's amazing. I'm so glad. I hope that executive order has no issues. And we need this as a country and pharmaceuticals. And come on.
There's a couple of medications that I have to pay for every month that are over $100 each time they're filled out of pocket.
Well,
and that's going to change now. Now I guess it'll be about $20 or $30 or maybe free. I don't know.
Right. That's not unusual. I hear and see that quite often when I'm in the pharmacy with people saying, well, how much would it be if I didn't have this, if I didn't have that? Because they're already paying $140 out of pocket, something like that. And you say, well, it would be like $300. It's just ridiculous. I had no idea medications were that expensive.
And that's just those two prescriptions is over $2,000 a year. So think about it. That's a lot of money.
It really is.
And that's just two.
So, I mean, just because, we need this like we need air. So, especially people who are going through anything. That's all ages. That's children.
And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the pharmacist wife who's worried that her husband's going to have a pay cut at the Walgreens or whatever that he works at. But it's.
I doubt they're going to lose many jobs on this. Come on, we need this. That's kind of being selfish. That's like politicians wanting business as usual and not get rid of the slush funds and money laundering. And leave us alone. We want to keep their money in our banks. No.
All right. Appreciate the call, Chris. Great call. Great points. Agree with everything you said, man. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian, good to Wellington.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, I mean, there's 100 things I could name just with illegal immigration slowing down as much as it has already. I mean, every Home Depot I go to now, there's nobody out front.
Really?
I mean, oh yeah, there's nobody, very little. And if there is, they're usually like in a small group,
Mm-hmm.
But the amazing effect of it with the trucking business alone, forcing most of the trucking industry that goes over the road to have Americans speaking English, that's a huge one as well. A lot of people don't really take into effect how big that is because we're dealing with people that are stealing jobs from Americans right away as soon as they come into this country speaking a different language, and they don't have to learn the language, and it makes it difficult for deliveries. It makes it difficult for a lot of things. And the pharmaceutical thing, I mean, with people running across the border, I mean, I know people that have, during COVID, hundreds of people that I knew were running across the border to get pharmaceuticals at a lower cost in Mexico.
Yeah.
And even rent has went up in other countries because of what he's done, already in ours to kind of bring down.
Well, I tell you, Steve and I had a friend who I don't want to say who, but they're a known person publicly.
Right.
Okay, they're a broadcaster, and they were taking their prescription. They were skipping every other day because it wasn't covered and they couldn't afford it. And I got to tell you, you got to have the therapeutic dose for these things to work. And a lot of people have been doing that in this country for decades, and it's because we're subsidizing the rest of the world so they can have free or next to free medications, and it's America first. Sorry.
I think he's really doing it. I think he's really doing it in order to make it to where we make drugs in our country more, because the pharmaceutical industry is owned by one entity for the most part in America, and in the rest of the world, it's open season. So when we buy them from other places, it makes it to where our industry is affected, and then it forces the cost up and the cost down in other countries because they produce it, and it doesn't make them nothing as far as labor costs.
Yeah.
And the amazing effect of that alone is gonna ripple. But
well, let me tell you guys, I'm telling you, the media in this country, they're really worried this morning in newsrooms around America because the pharmaceuticals spend so much money on television advertising, and they don't know what to do today because the pharmaceuticals are putting the screws to them.
Yeah, they're horrible for multiple reasons, with the media being entangled with it all, just like everything else with the lawyer firms and everything else that's going to get affected in this country when President Trump really does what he's supposed to with this mandate. I believe that we're going to see massive, massive corruption start to fall off. And that's what's going to help our country.
Well, the problem is the media and the politicians, they've already been bought and paid for by the pharmaceuticals, right? So these pharmaceuticals, they're not going to take, well, he's signing the order. They're going to tell them they've got to find a way to stop Trump from doing this. Listen, I appreciate the call from Wellington. I got to run, but thanks so much for the call. Yeah. If you're on hold, stand by. I want to ask you this. Do you or someone you know suffer from neuropathy? Oh, man. Neuropathy is living torture. You know, Steve and I found Lighthouse Medical over 2.5 years ago because Steve had the neuropathy and he had all the symptoms. We had an appearance coming up we were going to do. We had a cruise coming up, and Steve's like, I don't know if I can do this. I can't get out of bed. Lighthouse Medical has a treatment for neuropathy that rid Steve of all of his neuropathy symptoms. And he saw results the next day. And here we are over 2.5 years later, and Steve's neuropathy symptoms, they have not returned. Give Lighthouse Medical Center a call, 754-222-6642. 754-222-6642. And online, lighthousemedicalcenter.com. They have a treatment for neuropathy that works and a treatment that lasts. Steve Kane's a living example of both of those. I'm Brian Craig. It is the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. If you're on hold, hang in there. We're going to take our break for the top of the hour and be back right after this. Oh, man. What a great day. Doesn't get better than this, friends. Does not get better than this. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. And, of course, if you're already subscribed, please like the video and share on your socials if you do not mind. You have to call Lighthouse Medical for all those questions. I do not have the answers to those questions. Oh, yeah. What a great day. What a great day. By the way, how many of you think that's the same lady from Friday? The rice citrus farmer? I think it's the same lady. Yeah, same lady, yeah. And she just lies about it. That's the thing that really burns me. The lying. 90 seconds or so, we'll be back. Mortal, someone said, call me on the air. We'll determine if you're American or not. If you're on hold, hang in there. We'll go back to the phones when we get back from the break. We'll be back in 1 minute. Oh, yeah, the pharmaceutical is another reason to support Trump in 2028. This is America's golden age, no doubt about it. 30 seconds. Hour number 2 has begun. Oh, man, what a great day. My name is Brian, and you are listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. This was the weekend of accomplishments. I'm going to go through them. If you're on hold, hang in there. You're welcome to call in, by the way, at 888-465-2631. Of course, President Trump announced yesterday, through his openly gay Secretary of Treasury, that they've reached a trade agreement with China. China is lifting almost all of the tariffs immediately, the increases they put in. President Trump has set up an in-face peace summit between Putin and Zelensky. He's signing an executive order to drop prescription drug prices immediately in this country between 30 and 80%. On Friday, he made a trade agreement with the UK. And, oh yeah, the first of the lawfare criminals is facing indictment. Leticia James received a subpoena for the grand jury for her mortgage fraud. You know, Leticia is facing 30 years in federal prison. She will go to prison. And she's in her 60s. She's an old lady. It's a life sentence. So lots of great developments are going on. Back to the phone, celebrating the weekend of Trump on this beautiful MAGA Monday. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Conservative Doug. You know, the first thing I got to say is that annoying woman who called, she needs to listen to the statement, you know, God made you with 2 ears and one mouth.
Which one are you talking about? The pharmacist wife or the one that sounds high?
The one who used to be a farmer or something.
Oh, the rice farmer. You know what that woman needs? Do you know what she needs? You know what she needs? She needs a strong man in her life, a manly man.
Yeah, like I was saying, she needs 2 ears so you can listen twice as much as you talk.
Yes.
She just is very, very, very rude, man. She just keeps talking.
And she wonders why she's single.
Yeah, I guess. I think she's probably got to be single.
Oh, man.
But anyhow, about the drugs. You know, I know that for sure that certain drugs, the insurance companies will not let the pharmacy make any money. So if it costs you $1 to buy it, you got to sell it for $1. You can't make any money. I don't know how this is going to work on all the drugs. I guess it's just the manufacturers.
Well, these Walgreens, CVS, these places are going to have to do things to attract customers. You know, if you go to your gas stations and you go to like Publix, they sell lotto tickets. You know, the Florida lottery. They don't make money on that. They make peanuts on that. It's to get you into the store.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, they're going to have to change their models to get people to come to their stores, or the Amazon pharmacy is going to take it all over.
Well, certainly, I have a friend that had prostate cancer, and the new drug they gave him was $1,500 a month. So, you know, there's something needs to be done for something like that, man. That's absurd to pay $1,500 a month. He wound up getting some sort of assistance eventually.
Yeah.
But, you know, how the hell is somebody supposed to fight cancer and then pay $1,500 a month?
Yeah.
You know? So I'm glad
exactly.
President Trump is doing a great thing. I'm hoping that the Congress won't tell him forget. You can't do that. But hopefully.
Oh no, this Republican Congress will make this a law. This will be, what do they call it? They will codify it.
That's going to be great. That we certainly need that. Because,
all right. Yeah. All right, Doug. I appreciate the call. I agree with everything Doug just said. No doubt. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's for me.
Yes.
Okay. So you had accidentally banned me.
No, I didn't ban you, but but it's like I'll put you on hold for the rest of the show. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey,
Brian. It's Megan from Texas.
Hey,
How
Megan.
are you?
Doing all right, Megan. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I just want to say thank you, President Trump, for this prescription reduction. I have asthma and I have back issues I'm on medication for from surgery. And I'll tell you, I've always had to choose. Do I get this medicine or that medicine?
Really?
I've told the Yes. I've told the pharmacist a number of times. I'm like, you know, when I have bronchitis, I go, okay, I need the antibiotic, but I can't get these other two. I can't afford it.
Wow.
And I always have to pick and choose. And
wow.
I honestly did cry when I heard this announced. When I read this.
So hold on a second. So is it the same medication you skip? What's the medication you have not been taking because you couldn't afford it?
Well, there is. They have me on gabapentin.
What's it? Well, what are these? What are the? Oh, hydroxy. Oh my God! What are these drugs for? These prescriptions for?
The gabapentin and the hydrocodone are for my back from surgery that went wrong. And then I'm on albuterol inhaler and albuterol for my nebulizer for asthma.
Yeah.
And twice a year I get bronchitis, and they try to put me on an antibiotic and a steroid. And there's times I can't afford it. One of the medications one time they wanted to put me on was called LeeZep for something I was dealing with.
Yeah.
And I go to the pharmacy, and they said it's $1,200.
Oh, my goodness.
And I said, you know what? Put it back. Don't fill it. I'm not doing it. I can't.
You know, around the world, they keep saying that their universal healthcare systems work. The reason their universal healthcare systems work is because they don't pay for the medicines. We pay for their medicines. We pay for their prescriptions in Canada, in Europe, and all these places around the world because we're so overcharged.
Exactly. And the woman who said that supposedly her husband or whatever is a pharmacist, and, you know, people, the left that's complaining about, oh, there's going to be, you know, they'll lose jobs. Really? More people like me will be able to fill the medication.
And live.
More people will be using the pharmacy.
And think about it. How many people are going to live because of this? There are people who die because they can't afford prescriptions in this country.
Yes. My dad was a World War II veteran, and when he was alive, he could not get his medication because he got very little money from the veterans for being in the war. He got $98 a month for being in the war.
Oh my goodness!
And he couldn't afford his prescriptions. World War II veteran.
It's a shame. Do you see President Trump's going to take the money they were housing illegals with and house homeless veterans? Isn't that nice?
That is wonderful. I absolutely love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. I appreciate the call. I mean, right there, you know, we all know people like this who don't take prescription medications because they can't afford them, or they don't take the dose that's been prescribed by their doctor. And that's all going to change now. You know, a couple other things. If you're on hold, hang in there. This story of Qatar wanting to give President Trump a plane, they're trying to make a scandal out of that. You know, Boeing, they were supposed to deliver the new Air Force One this year. Was it the summer or the fall? And they're not going to be able to do it. President Trump made that deal with Boeing in his first term. Then Biden was in, so they didn't think Trump was coming back. Now he's back. And Boeing didn't deliver. What's the scandal with President Trump taking this free plane from Qatar? Is that what you're going to try to make a scandal out of? These people are out of their minds. But there's another story I was reading this morning in the Gateway Pundit, and a lot of conservatives, I think, are missing the mark. There's a story today, which this story may be accurate, but people are missing the reason for it. This Congress has passed 70% fewer bills than other Congresses during a president's term, right, when they first get elected. 70% fewer bills. There's a reason for that, okay? And it's a good reason. And this is all going according to Trump's plan. Trump doesn't want to have a whole bunch of tiny little bills for the Democrats to tear apart. He has one big, beautiful bill first, and then there's going to be a whole bunch after that. But the big, beautiful bill is the first of many big, beautiful bills. He wants a big, beautiful bill that has as much stuffed in it as possible that things get through much easier, that MAGA America want. I give you an example. In Trump's first term, I can't remember which bill this was. It might have been the Trump tax bill. I can't remember which bill it was. But he had something buried in there, and the Democrats were so distracted by the taxes they didn't know. And that was the drilling in Anwar in Alaska. And we got Anwar drilling passed in that bill. It was hilarious. They didn't even know. So you want fewer bills that are bigger, will get more through that way. So it's not that they're doing Trump wrong by having 70% fewer bills. They're doing a great service to us all by having big, humongous, big, beautiful bills overloaded with the agenda. They can't stop it all. That's why they're doing that, okay? And it's a new strategy in Washington, and since we have the majority, it'll work, and it's an awesome thing, right? And the things that President Trump's doing are things that no one can oppose. Now, are you living in pain? Holy smokes, man. Here it is, a very rainy day. This is one of those days where my knee used to hurt me like a son of a you-know-what. And the arthritis I used to have, a rainy day like this, I was in so much pain. But since Dr. Philip Appleton rid me of pain with his laser away pain treatment, these rainy days, no arthritis pain because I don't have arthritis pain anymore. No knee pain because my knees... the laser away pain treatment with Dr. Appleton repairs the damage that's causing the pain. There's no drugs, which are awful. Drugs, first off, they just mask the pain, right? They mask the cause of the pain. Pain is a signal that something's wrong in your body, something's broken. And the medications, whether it's over-the-counter or prescription, they don't help you. They just mask the pain. And you're supposed to go get it taken care of. You're not supposed to be doing things with that part of your body. The laser treatment with Dr. Appleton repairs the damage that's causing the pain. That's why the 7 times he's rid me of pain, the pain hasn't returned because he repaired the damage causing me the pain. There's no drugs. Oh, and plus you can become a junkie on these prescriptions, right? Like Hunter. You don't want that. There's no drugs, no shots, no injections, no surgery, no downtime, no pain, no appointment necessary. Walk-ins are welcome, even on Saturdays. And oh yeah, the laser treatment works on every type of pain I've ever heard of. Give Dr. Appleton a call and say bye-bye to your pain too. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. We'll be right back. If you're on hold, hang in there. Oh, I'm going to do, I'll tell you when I get back from the break what I'm going to do. If you're on hold, hang in there. Welcome. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. This is exciting. Are you guys excited? I'm excited. How could you not be? Right? How could you not be? Mm-hmm. Well, you know. No, that lady, that's the lady on hold is the one that's called 3 times. I told her on Friday it's 1 call per day. I told her again today it's 1 call per day, and she continues to call. It's one. You can call me every day, but only once per day. And they don't even like me letting people call in every day. You're supposed to let people call in like once a week or a month. I don't mind, but it's only once a day. No, I love people calling in who disagree. If you disagree, you call. We'll talk. She's called in 3 times today. At least, maybe 4. I've lost track. One minute. We'll be back in less than a minute. I love the Pope's brother, his Florida brother. Oh man, this guy's awesome. You call me on the air and I'll answer your question. You call me on the air, I'll answer your question. All right, here we go. We're back. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. We're celebrating these great accomplishments that the president did just in between 3 and 6:20 p.m. yesterday. He did more in 3 hours and 21 minutes that most presidents do in 8 years. It's amazing, and we're celebrating that. Our Republican Pope, our first American Pope, who's a lifelong Republican, he has 2 brothers. He's the youngest of the 3. And he's got the brother in Chicago, and he's got a brother that lives here in Florida. And his Florida brother is as MAGA as it gets. I mean, this guy is hardcore. I saw an interview with Pope Leo's Florida brother over the weekend, and I knew this guy was MAGA by where he lives in Florida and the way he was talking. He's hardcore MAGA. And they're really going after this guy like nobody's business. And he's very active on social media. He's a strong supporter of President Trump. He's talked about the Never Trumpers shooting him in Butler. He's a strong supporter of Elon Musk. And he said some things about Nancy Pelosi that they're having meltdowns over. He's in the New York Post today and many other publications. The Pope's Florida brother called Nancy Pelosi a drunk C-word. Now, first of all, isn't truth a defense? I mean, she's a wino. She's a bigger drunk than Kamala, and that's saying a lot. Couple things about this. His Florida brother, who's Catholic, and he was talking. He said when they were little kids, and he was playing cops and robbers, he said his little brother, Pope Leo, he would make believe that he was a priest. When he was like 5 years old, he was making believe he's a priest, and he would give them pretend communion when he was 5, 6, 7 years old. But this is the thing, my family, and when I'm talking about my family, I'm not talking about just my immediate family, my wife, my parents, in-laws and stuff. I'm talking about my extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, that are extended. Everyone except one is MAGA. I have one liberal one Democrat in my family. My entire family is MAGA, and it's very shocking to me because sometimes I've run into family members I haven't seen for 20, 25 years, and they're MAGA. I got together last year with friends of mine that I've been friends with for 40 years. Some of them I had not seen for 30 years, all MAGA. I was in shock. It's amazing. And what I've noticed with people is that it's a family thing. Most people and if you're MAGA, most people in your family are too, right? Like in mine. And I think the same thing is true with Pope Leo. His Florida brother is hardcore MAGA. And, being a conservative, being MAGA is a moral outlook on the world, okay? And that's why people in your friendship circles and in your families like mine, most everyone's MAGA, because you have a similar worldview. The Pope is a lifelong Republican. Every election he's voted in, local and nationally, he's voted Republican. He's against all the trans lunacy. And, that's right. And all that gender stuff, he's against all that stuff. I know he's taken issue on X with JD and the president on immigration, but I expect that from the Catholic Church. However, that may change because he was under Pope Francis. Now he's the man. He's the Pope. So that may change to a certain extent. I wouldn't be so sure on the immigration issue. But the Pope seems to be on the president's side about 80% of the time. He's very strongly pro-life, of course, and supports President Trump overturning Roe v. Wade. And his brother being MAGA tells me that Pope Leo is much more conservative than anyone realizes. Now, if you're on hold, stand by. I'm going to do a major spoiler for a movie that's being recommended by the media right now that I watched yesterday. This movie Conclave. Let me tell you. This movie Conclave is the most anti-Christian movie since The Last Temptation of Christ. And that's not an exaggeration. So spoiler alert, if you don't want to be spoiled about Conclave, I'm just giving you the spoiler alert right now. I watched this movie yesterday only because I'd seen it talked about so much, how great it is. And we just had the conclave that gave us our first American Pope, Republican Pope Leo, who has this great MAGA brother who lives here in Florida. And so I watched it because I wanted to see how the conclave worked. This is when I say it's the most anti-Christian movie since The Last Temptation of Christ, that's not an exaggeration. Now, from this point forward are going to be major spoilers. I'm going to spoil the entire movie, including the end, the twist at the end. All right? I'm going to give you a countdown from 5, and if you don't want to be spoiled, well, you know what you got to do. But after the bottom of the hour break, the spoilers will be done. I'm only going to do it in this segment. So I'll do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Now, from this point forward, I'm going to spoil the entire movie, and I hope you do not watch it. So I watched Conclave yesterday, which is a new movie. Everyone's recommending it because we just had the conclave with the Pope. And it shows you their version of the conclave. And the cardinals are sequestered, and the cardinals have all kinds of dysfunctions, okay? A new cardinal comes in right in the beginning of the conclave that none of them have ever met before, and I knew right then that cardinal was going to end up being the Pope. But there was a twist at the end, which I'll tell you. There were other cardinals, they showed the vote and the count, that were looking as if they were going to win. One of them was a black cardinal from Africa, and he had gotten more votes than anyone, but not the 2/3 they needed. And then you find out he had fathered a child with a nun who was there, so he was out. There was another cardinal that was played by John Lithgow, and I should have known about John. I don't know, is it Lithgow or Lithgow? I should have known about John Lithgow. Would be involved in such an anti-Christian piece of garbage like this film Conclave, because he was the father in Footloose with Kevin Bacon, who played the preacher, who was a jerk of a preacher making Christians look bad. He was the one that banned dancing in the town. Okay, so he was, but I thought he was older now. Maybe he gotten over that. So John Lithgow is looking like he's going to become the Pope, and then they find out he's involved in all kinds of financial scandals, so he's out. And there were a couple other cardinals after him, and then they had some scandals, and then finally they pick this unknown cardinal and make him the Pope, and the smoke goes up and everything else. And just as now this is the big spoiler at the end of the movie, guys, the big spoiler at the end of Conclave, and I was so angry that I watched this filth, okay? I was so angry I watched this filth by the way they ended this movie. So this cardinal gets elected pope. He is in the papal apartment. They've not revealed him to the world yet, but they blew the smoke, so the world was waiting. And the cardinal in charge of the conclave finds something out, which we don't know, about the new pope. So he goes to him to talk to him, and his priestly aides say the pope will not let us help him get dressed. Do you know what's coming? So Ray Fiennes, is that who plays that guy? Is it Ray Fiennes? There's two Fiennes. Is it Ray Fiennes or is it Ray Fiennes? Whatever you pronounce his name. He goes in, he confronts the new pope, and what do we find out? Here's the big spoiler. The new pope is transgender, is a woman, a biological woman who's been living as a man. They just made a transgender biological woman the new pope. Not only that, the previous pope knew that this cardinal was a biological woman and transgendered, but wanted him to become, or them to become, the pope. So the way conclave ends, and Ray Fiennes, whatever his name is, he approves of it. So at the end of conclave, they make a transgendered person, a biological woman, the pope. That's how the movie ends. And I was so angry that I watched it. And let me tell you, these propagandists did a really good job, because in the beginning, it was so good. They really hook you in with how the conclave works. And it was and these are great actors in this movie. Stanley Tucci's in it, he's in Hunger Games and other things, so they got great actors in it. It was, it hooked me in because it was so good. And then they got into this at the end. I was sick. And it is the most offensive movie out of Hollywood about Christianity since The Last Temptation of Christ, which was disgusting too, but I was a kid when that came out. And I'm not, I don't spoil movies too much. I don't even talk about movies, but I spoiled this one on purpose so you don't watch it. I watched it for educational purposes because I wanted to see how the conclave worked. Because we just got Pope Leo, our Republican American Pope with the great MAGA brother. The movie's disgusting. Don't watch Conclave. All right, we'll take our break for the bottom of the hour and be right back. Do you guys mind that I spoiled it? Can you spoil crap? I mean, Oh, it's disgusting. It's just totally disgusting. No, he was not a hermaphrodite. No, he was a woman. If you go back and watch, well, don't. If you watch the dialogue. Does that make it any better? Hermaphrodite? No. He was living as, he was a biological woman. Yeah, I was ticked off. I watched that crap. I was really ticked off. Yeah, the previous pope sent him to Switzerland to have the uterus removed and wouldn't do it. I was born this way. Now, was that actor a man or a woman? That I don't know. They were vague between hermaphrodite and transgender. We'll be back in about a minute. It's pretty bad. I'll be back shortly. If you're on hold, hang in there. Welcome back. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. We're celebrating all these great accomplishments of the president over the weekend. And of course, don't forget, Leticia James received a grand jury subpoena. She's going to prison, Leticia James, the first of the lawfare criminals to face justice. Leticia James facing 30 years in the federal penitentiary. Couldn't happen to a nicer person. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning, Brian. This is Richie.
Hey, Richie.
I have to say something to you. I mean, when I listen sometimes, you remind me of the stockman in the supermarket when they yell, jaw broke in aisle 6, clean it up. You now all of a sudden, because the Pope's brother is a MAGA, that you think he's going to be like his, because it's in the family and he voted Republican. Well, I want you to remind you something. First of all, I don't believe in Martha Raddatz. I don't know her religion, but she was interviewing cardinals, yesterday that actually lived with this man. This man, they showed videos of him in Peru. I think he lived there like 13 years. He's a Peruvian citizen.
Yes.
Dual citizen.
Yep.
He lived amongst the poorest of the poor. You took a trip to Peru. I heard you say the third world pit of the earth. It's disgusting.
It's the worst.
He lived there. He had a choice. He had a choice of going into a fancy place or living amongst the peasants. He chose the peasants. And they say he is a social warrior, social justice warrior. He believes in open borders because he thinks immigrants are children of God.
Listen. You're not gonna get me bad mouthing the Pope. We got a few good things going on here. One, he's American. Two, he's a lifelong Republican. He's against the trans nonsense. He's against the gender stuff, and he's strongly pro-life. I'm assuming he's liberal on the border, as all of them are. And like Jesus, priests oftentimes surround themselves with the poor.
Okay, all right. But he's social justice warrior means...
I would not call a lifelong Republican who's as pro-life as he is and against the trans and the gender stuff a social justice warrior.
Okay, that's your opinion. I've seen people that actually are in the Catholic Church that say, they're friends of his, that say that's what he is.
Well, I don't know. I didn't hear that, but they, and his brother, his MAGA brother here in Florida is awesome.
I believe that. Don't get me wrong.
All right, Richie, I appreciate the call, Richie. Okay, all right. Let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Sandra. I'm calling from Delray Beach, Florida.
Yes.
Yeah. My girlfriends and I saw the conclave way back when it first came out, and our interpretation of the ending was not what you said, but rather he was a hermaphrodite.
A hermaphrodite.
And yes.
They were vague. I'll tell you, I rewound that part.
Yes, they were vague.
Okay, I rewound that part. Okay? It could be either way. He could either be a hermaphrodite or transgender. It was purposely vague so you could interpret it either way if you so choose. But is that better? He said he had a uterus, a functioning uterus.
Yeah, yes, he had both.
I didn't hear him say, no. Because I went back and watched it. He said he says more than once he has a functioning uterus. He never said he has a penis.
Okay, but how would he go to Switzerland to get an operation for a penis? That wouldn't make sense.
But they were very vague.
Over to a male, you'd have to take hormones. You wouldn't go to Switzerland to get a penis.
He was he was going to go.
He never went to Switzerland. He never went through with it.
Yeah, to get his functioning uterus removed. Correct. They were vague about it at the end, and you could take it either way.
We all thought it was the hermaphrodite.
Hermaphrodite. He said they said I rewound it.
Uh-huh.
They said multiple times that he had a uterus. Never did they say he had male organs.
Well, that's our interpretation. I don't remember.
But does that make it better? Does that make it better?
Yes, it makes it much better.
No, it doesn't.
The guy was born.
Really?
He didn't have any power over how he was born, and then he said, I didn't want to get the operation. I just stood as I was.
Which was vague. They never said he had male organs.
Yeah. But that's the way we all interpreted it like that.
Well, you had. I would say it was done in a way where an audience could take either meaning away. Neither of them are good. If you have a uterus, you should not be the Pope.
Oh, I don't know. If you're born with both organs, that was out of your power. I don't think
They never said he had a penis. They never said he had male organs. Never.
Well, that's the way we interpreted. We didn't even question that he was a whatever.
Well, if you ever happen to watch the ending again, if you ever watch the ending again, they never say that there are male sex organs. Never. Just the uterus.
Okay.
All right. Appreciate the call. Whatever makes you feel that the movie's okay. All right. Our number is 1-888-465-2631. And yeah, I would say they purposely made the end of Conclave confusing, where you could take multiple meanings away from it. But they never say that he has a penis.
Conservative thugs.
Oh, okay. All right. Hold on. We've lost track here. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning. Tom from Florida on this rainy day. I just turned on the radio. Are you guys talking about the Pope?
We're talking about a few things on the table. Why'd you call?
Well, because, I just heard Pope and hermaphrodite or something. Is that what you're implying?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Just out of curiosity. And also, too, I believe that President Trump is out of his gourd, accepting a plane from Qatar and then deciding not to hand it over to the next president, but keeping it in his library? You gotta be kidding me.
Well, you say a lot. Okay, now President Trump responded about Qatar. Okay, and this. Let me read this to you. All right, this is what the president said about the plane. All right, you with me, Tom?
I'm with you, bud.
Okay, he posted this on True Social. So the fact that the Defense Department is getting a gift free of charge of a 747 aircraft to replace the 40-year-old Air Force One temporarily in a very public and transparent transaction, bothers the crooked Democrats that they insist we pay top dollar for the plane. Anybody can do that. The Dems are world-class losers, MAGA. So you're telling me that the United States Air Force should turn down a free plane from Qatar?
Actually, no. Not if it's going to stay and be upgraded in the United States. Not if it's going to go into the Trump library, pal. That's kind of
Trump
ridiculous.
never said it's going into the Trump library. Fake news media and Democrats keep saying that.
Okay. Well, I hope it stays in the military. And
I hope it stays in the military. All right. Tom, I would thank you. I would thank you for your call, but if I thanked you for the call, I'd be lying to you and the audience, because that was an awful call. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Woody from Crestwood.
Crestwood. All right. Where's Crestwood?
Illinois.
All right, Crestwood, Illinois. You're on the air. What's on your mind?
Brian, as I read that statement from President Trump, do you think that with this prescription drugs, he's going to, it's a chess move where he's going to take and try to cut out of our health because of the tax breaks he wants to give?
Well, I don't understand your question. I don't understand what you're saying, what you're asking.
Well, we need money for the taxes.
We don't need, what do you mean we need money for the taxes? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about when we do the budget, and he needs money out of the. I'm a little nervous.
Okay, that's okay. Okay, I'm not going to give you a hard time because I know you're nervous. I'll explain everything to you. Okay, and I was waiting for a caller to bring this up about the prescriptions, but no one has yet. So I'll tell you. But the thing about paying for the taxes, Elon Musk and Doge is showing how much money the government's wasting. Don't worry, the tax cuts the country can afford bigger tax cuts than even we're getting. But President Trump is he's signing an executive order lowering prescription drug cost, right? Your prescriptions down by as much as 80%. Why do you think he's doing that?
Well, I'm thinking that he needs to cut in the health. They said on the entitlements.
No. That's all wrong. He's doing it for two reasons. One, we've got the big, beautiful bill coming up. It's not in the bill. It's an executive order, which eventually will make its way into law. This is what he's doing, okay?
Right.
President Trump this is the art of the political deal. This is the art of the deal. You all should read that book. I've read it twice. He always asks for more than he wants. Now, first off, we are getting ripped off by the prescriptions, and he's going to drop them significantly. What he's doing by dropping them by 80%, he wants the drug manufacturers to move production from China back to the United States. So when they do that, he's still going to lower the cost, but he may just lower them by 50%, maybe 60 or 70%. It's part of the negotiation to get the prescription pharmaceutical business back in America. So we're not dependent on China for our medications. China, they don't even have to go to war to bring down the Western world. They could just stop the production of the prescriptions, right? People would die. So that's what he's doing here. He will lower the prices dramatically, but he did it as high as 80. So he has, like when he went to Pelosi and Schumer in the first term and asked money for the wall, he asked for like $13 billion. He only needed needed like 3, and they gave him 8, and they thought they had a victory, right? So he always asks for more than he wants, so he has room. Read his book, Art of the Deal. He always asks for more, so that's what he's doing. I was waiting for a caller to pick up on that. Nobody did, so I just told you.
Here, I have another. I was listening to Steve Bannon, and he said that we're going to be $2 trillion if we don't cut into the entitlements.
Okay, I love Steve Bannon, but slow down. I love Steve Bannon, but he's pissed off at Trump because he's not in the inner circle. Okay.
Yeah, I get that part too.
And that's manifesting through his analysis, unfortunately.
But is it true?
No. The government, you see how much money they're wasting on Doge. That Doge is exposed.
And they're not going to put any of those cuts in the budget. I don't understand this.
No, it's all going to be fine. Don't worry. Trump's in charge. Hey, listen, I got to run. I'm late for the break, but I appreciate the call, all right? We'll be right back. It's all right here, guys. The Art of the Deal. It's all right here. Just read the book. Just read the book. Right there. It's all in this book. You call me on the air, I'll answer your questions. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe, guys. Tomorrow I'll be at the radio station. Yeah, most offensive movie since Last Temptation of Christ. I felt dirty that I watched it. Conclave. I really did. We'll be back in about a minute. If you're on hold, hang in there. There's one opening on the board. If you want to call in, the toll-free number is pinned in the live chat. The woman thought being a hermaphrodite was acceptable to be the Pope. Are you kidding me? Jane, thank you so much for that super sticker. Welcome back, one and all. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977. Call us on hold, standby. We're celebrating all the great things that President Trump has done over the weekend, the prescriptions, the China deal, the summit, face-to-face meeting with Zelensky and Putin, the trade deal, not just with China, but the UK trade deal. Leticia James got her grand jury subpoena over the weekend. Things are going just as perfect can be. Back to the phones we go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. It's Matt from Lakeland, Florida.
Hey, Matt in Lakeland. What's up?
Hey, I just wanted to let you know, I am actually in the industry when it comes to pharmaceuticals. It's been about 25 years. And the problem is, I love this. I mean, even though I'm in the industry, the problem is it's the pharmacy benefit managers that are setting these prices for patients.
Mm.
You know, patients usually go through an insurance company based on their employer. Even the insurance companies anymore don't set prices and actually dispense these meds. It's the pharmacy benefit managers like the Caremarks of the world.
Yeah.
The problem with that is there aren't 25 or 30 of these PBMs. There's like freaking 4.
Mm-hmm.
So they set the monopoly. They set the prices for these pharmaceuticals. And in order to get on these plans, these companies a lot of times have to really lower these prices.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, listen.
To get on the plan.
Listen. President Trump.
And then the prices increased from the pharmacy benefit managers.
Listen. What's going to? I don't know about these pharmacy benefit managers. I see what you're saying. However, they're going to have to change what they're doing. The President Trump signing the order. And the American people are going to expect some things to happen, and they're going to have to happen right quick, and they're not going to put up with this. And these pharmaceutical companies, I mean, you know the deal with the pharmaceutical reps, right?
Yeah, I am one.
Oh my God! Oh, then you must be a very handsome, good-looking man.
No, I wish.
Oh, really?
I used to be.
You're
That
the
was 25
exception to
years
the
ago.
rule. You know, you ever go to the doctor's office? You see the lady pharmaceutical rep come in. She looks like a Hawaiian tropic model. She looks like a Hooters girl in tight business clothes. She gets led right back into the private meeting to the doctor. I wonder what goes on in those meetings.
Well, what I want to say is at the end of the day, I agree with this. I just hope that these pharmacy benefit managers are kind of bolted onto this, because if that's not addressed...
What's going to happen? What's going to happen in a month from now? What's going to happen when people show up at Walgreens and they tell them they got to pay $225 for a prescription? And this happens millions of times a day. There's going to be just so much outrage at the pharmacy. They'll take care of it. They'll do what they got to do.
I hope so.
People are going to freak out. They're going to freak out. They're going to freak out if they don't lower the prices.
Well, I really think I look at this as tariff 2.0. I think at least I could see this from our country's been footing the bill when it comes to these pharmaceutical prices, because these other countries haven't paid.
Yep.
I really think this is almost a tariff 2.0, where it's going to start to kind of recalibrate these prices for these other countries that I know for a fact, being in this industry, they aren't paying what we're paying.
No, they're not. In fact, in many of them, they're free or next to nothing. That's
absolutely.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well,
I just wanted to call and share that with you and really address that pharmacy benefit manager. They're the ones that are really setting these prices.
Well, I appreciate the info. All right, take care. You guys know what I mean about the pharmaceutical reps, right? At the doctor's office or the hospitals. Oh my goodness. I know. It's disgusting. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Brian. It's Tampa Bay Ford.
Yep.
Regarding the movie Conclave, I wasn't able to hear what you were saying in the last 10 minutes because I'm a hold. Did that Pope in the movie have XX or XY chromosomes?
They didn't say. They just kept talking about their uterus.
Yeah. Okay, just thought I'd bring that up, man.
Okay, I appreciate it. Well, you did. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Brian. My name is Roger, and I have some information about the Pope that I've been struggling with and praying over deeply. I have two brothers. All right, one is deceased. Both of them attended the seminary in near Holland, Michigan. All right, the Augustinian Seminary, the Minor Seminary. And both of my brothers were sexually abused at this seminary.
Mm-hmm.
My younger brother, Mark, was a classmate of Pope Leo XIV. As a matter of fact, Bob Prevost was best man at my brother's wedding.
Wow. Which one's Bob? Is that the Pope? Is that the Pope or one of the brothers?
That is the Pope.
Wow, that's amazing. Pope Leo. Wow.
It is amazing. He was best man, and as recently as August of last year, they had dinner together.
That's amazing.
Right?
Wow.
All right. Now, my brother Mark was sexually abused by two priests at this seminary, and he had both those priests removed. All right. All this information I'm telling you can be verified.
Okay.
All right. All of it. All right. So this Pope was a classmate, and they both went to Villanova together. All right. My brother graduated, but he did not go on to become a priest. All right. He dropped out of the novitiate program. Pope Leo wanted.
All right. Well, so we don't run out of time. What's the main idea that you're driving towards?
The main idea is that if this Pope wasn't abused himself, then he had to have known about the abuse that was going on at this seminary.
Well, a lot of people believe Pope.
He had to have known.
Okay, a lot of people believe that Pope Benedict was forced out and replaced by Pope Francis because he was involved in cover-ups with abuse in the church.
Yes.
And this guy, Pope Leo was very tight with Pope Francis. So I would think he's on the right page. Do you know why there's so many gays that become priests?
Yes, I do know why.
Why do you think?
Because they think that they can serve God and stay in the closet.
Correct. In fact, I'll add a little bit to it. A lot of these are men who have been struggling with their homosexuality, and they're Catholic.
Yes,
they're cradle to grave Catholics, And it's a great job. They're looking for salvation and help through the church, through Jesus, and all of that. However, it's also a great cover because there's no expectation for you to ever get married. So
you are so correct.
So most of them are struggling gays that went into the priesthood to remain in the closet, but also be able to overcome the urges. And a lot of them fail, sadly.
A lot of them fail. Now, Brian, you have to know there is a huge subculture of sexual abuse that is embedded in the Catholic Church that is covered up. It's been there for centuries, all right?
Sure.
And I'm just wondering what Pope Leo is going to do about it.
Well, we'll find out. We'll find out.
If he wasn't abused himself, then he had to have known that this would happen to my brother.
Well, I would imagine, now for the first time having an American Pope means we're going to have the American media cover the Pope in ways that have never been covered before. And what you're telling us right now will probably be talked about in the media at some point at great length, maybe for years.
That is why I called your show, because you have the longest running show, and I know that there's other people. It wasn't just my two brothers. It had to be dozens.
But listen, I don't want you to think I don't want you to think I'm trying to. But any organization where there's young men and boys, Boy Scouts, as an example, there's going to be problems, and it's
and
sad.
I think that's the worst thing that you can do. That's the worst thing you can do to a young man is do that to him.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
What happened to both my brothers?
Let me tell you,
it's
it's the closest crime to murder there is, rape of children. I mean,
you
murder.
Know what? You are absolutely right.
Yeah, and it's a close second. All right, listen, we're out of time for the hour, but thanks for the call, and if anything comes in that's new, call in the future. Take care. It's the Steve Kane Show, 2 hours down, 1 to go. Call us on hold standby. I'm Brian Craig. We're going to take our break for the top of the hour. Be back with your calls and more right after this. Smart caller, that guy. I would have talked to him longer, but I had to take the hard break at the top. If you're on hold, hang in there. I'm going to go back to the phones after the break. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, guys. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I mean, even look here in Florida. Anytime there's a big prostitution sting in Central Florida, they always have at least one employee from Disney, Oh, I'm very excited about the Pope. Yeah, I'm very excited about this Pope. It's so great, no matter, even if you're not Catholic. I mean, have an American Pope. He's going to do a big U.S. tour. He could be Pope for 30 years. He's young compared to some of these guys. I hope he comes to Miami, because if he comes to Miami, I'm going to go see the Pope the best I can. I'll get as close as I can. All right, we're cutting it close because you said 8:15, so we're really cutting it close. Are you there? Oh, yeah, hold on 1 second, Steve. Steve, you there?
I'm here.
All right, stand by. We got about 30 seconds. We're back. Hour number 3 has begun. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. We are 2 years away from the 50th anniversary of The Steve Kane Show on the radio. Steve Kane joining us. Hey, Steve.
Good morning. How are you today?
Oh, Steve, this is like the most winning day to be a Trump supporter we've ever had. You know, since...
I know I've been listening and joining in spirit at your celebration.
Oh, my goodness.
I wanted to talk about the other thing you're talking about, that one of the worst motion pictures in history, Conclave.
Oh, my goodness.
And
garbage.
Well, actually, I believe anything with Hollywood, but they nominated it for Best Picture of the Year. Couldn't believe it.
Best Picture?
What?
They nominated it?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
I think it won.
It's,
I'm not sure.
Let me tell you, it's
But
filth.
I think it won.
I went through the spoilers hoping to stop people from watching. I found it as offensive as The Last Temptation of Christ.
Well, the thing that got me about it, first of all, the premise is ridiculous. The story is ridiculous. It's like a fantasy.
Well, what about it's ridiculous? I mean, they just had a conclave. What do you mean it's ridiculous? What part?
What the hermaphrodite was?
The hermaphrodite
Pope of the Catholic Church.
With the blessing of the previous pope, no doubt. I mean, come on.
Yes.
I couldn't believe.
I mean,
And Stanley,
first of all,
yeah, go ahead.
I don't know where to begin. It was long, boring. I couldn't stand it. I was on the verge of sleep several times.
I did doze off, Steve, during the movie. I was watching it in my living room, and I did doze off through part of it. I'll tell you this, okay? I'll tell you this. While there is debate over whether he was a hermaphrodite or transgender, because they were very vague, they kept talking about the uterus, and they never mentioned a penis. It was disgusting. It really was disgusting, and
it was BS. I mean, it was so. I mean, to try to pass that off as having anything to do with being plausible is a joke.
And Stanley Tucci
is exploiting the lunatics in Hollywood. Yeah, all they got to do is put a penis on it
or a uterus.
Something to do with gay. And they're happy. They don't care.
And I'll tell you why. Because there's this lady called and said no, a hermaphrodite. And I'll tell you why I don't agree with that. When Ray is that guy? What's that actor's name? Fiennes? Is it Ralph Fiennes? That was Ralph Fiennes. When he goes to the Pope's room, the priests come out and say the Holy Father will not let us dress him. He doesn't want to be seen naked. So that's why I say he's got no penis, okay? And he didn't want them to see his vagina.
Penis or without a penis?
Yeah, that's why he wouldn't let them dress him, because he has a vagina. It's bad.
That's the least of it. But I mean, it's just that they can feed you anything, and then the public is so stupid that the public's going to go for it. And that's why Hollywood's in the...
Well,
pardon the expression, the crapper now.
Well, that's, this is an interesting thing because I'm a big lover of movies. Steve has a master's degree in film and used to be a college professor who taught film. We just don't talk about movies too much. And I don't watch movies too much anymore either. In large part because they're so liberally biased. This movie here, though, Steve, was a movie made for another time. I'll give you an example. The Birth of a Nation was made for a different time in America, right? When the Democrat Klan was around. This movie...
Hold on. What time? I'm very interested in what you're saying. What time was this film made for?
I'll tell you. The Conclave was not made for Trump America. It was made for Kamala Harris's America. Like, if these wokesters... Woke has been rejected, okay, by the American people. Woke is done, even in the sports. So this movie was made with the expectation that Biden or Kamala would be president and that woke wouldn't be dead, is what I'm telling you. And they don't understand that the message that what's in this movie is repulsive to the majority of the movie-going public. And that's it. We're in Trump's America. It was a movie made for another time. I'll tell you another movie.
Exactly. It was an in film.
Yeah, I watched 2 movies this month, which is a record because I don't really watch movies anymore. But I watched this because we just had the Pope's Conclave, and I wanted to see how the conclave worked. This is not the movie for that. But I watched that movie about the murderers of Alan Berg, the radio talk show host, The Order. I watched.
Oh yeah.
Oh, more garbage. Now don't watch that either, Steve. I was so ticked off at the end of the movie.
Is that the one with Deborah Wood?
No. That's the movie from the 80s. They have a new movie. It's called The Order. It's a brand new movie. It's only been out a few months. And it's about the group of people that murdered Alan Berg. Now, Alan Berg was a radio talk show host, a lot like Steve and I, right? And they had an actor playing Alan Berg on the air, and I heard Alan Berg say some things like I've heard myself say, and you. He was murdered by these radical white supremacists from an organization called The Order, and the movie is about that. And a lot of the movie is about the white supremacist Bible, the Turner Diaries. So at the end of the movie, you know how at the end of movies they'll have some graphics come up giving you the updates on everybody from the movie?
Yeah.
They do that at the end, and all, the Turner Diaries is a big. If you don't know about the Turner Diaries, go and look them up and look all this up. This is The Order. It's a brand new movie, been out just a couple of months. They do a flash on to tell us what happened to everybody from the movie, and then they say the Turner Diaries was the inspiration for the January 6th insurrectionist. Comes up at the end of the movie, and it just ticked me off like this transgender hermaphrodite thing at the end of Conclave. It just, it was a very good movie. I was interested because of the Alan Berg thing. I've read the book about Alan Berg, Talk to Death. So, it's something I follow, and you too, right? And it just, they put that liberal garbage in our movies and they destroy it. It takes you out of it. It takes you out of the movie. It's just, Hollywood's disgusting, Steve.
It's disgusting. It's just outrageous.
All right. Well, I'll tell you though.
Anyway, I'm glad I got it off my chest.
I'm surprised you watched Conclave. I'm in shock that you watched
Well,
that.
it's on paper. Before you know how horrible it is, it sounds like an interesting premise.
And it wasn't that bad in the beginning. It has great actors: Ray Fiennes, Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow. It's got some great actors in it. But I think he was transgender at the end because he wouldn't let them see him naked, which means he had a vagina. He didn't and breasts.
The worst part about it doesn't matter.
It's either way's bad. Either way, the new pope.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I thought they were
disgusting on any level.
In the beginning when that character was first introduced, I knew he was going to be the pope. That was the worst. I knew he'd be the pope, but I thought it was going to be a murder mystery. I thought they were going to find out that the cardinal, played by John Lithgow, had murdered the pope to become the pope. That's where I thought they were going. Not that we were going to have a transgender hermaphrodite pope at the end. They caught me off guard with that.
By the way, what happened to John Lithgow's career? This is the first thing I've seen him in forever.
The last thing I've seen him in, movie-wise, was that Sylvester Stallone movie, Cliffhanger, and that was like 1990 or something. I haven't seen him in a while. He was a recurring character in Dexter, the TV show. Yeah. I got to tell you guys about Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Holy smokes. Steve, people in this audience have, because I'm on video all the time on YouTube and everything, people have been taking photographs of me from old videos and sending them to me, and they say, Brian, you have really lost a lot of weight. It's so nice because usually in the listening audience, they don't compliment you like that too much. People are always trying to look to bring you down, and those of you that have been doing that, I appreciate that. And Steve, I went back. And I said, I was showing my wife, I said, yeah, I didn't realize what had changed. And then my wife started pulling up some video of me from just like 6 months ago. It's like a different person. I've lost so much weight, even since the cruise. I haven't seen you since the cruise, Steve. I've lost a lot since the cruise. My face, my neck, my stomach is flat. my whole body. It's absolutely amazing, and I have more energy. You know,
No question, you're not half the man you used to be.
That's exactly. I remember I told you my daughter. I picked her up at the airport. She said, "Where's the rest of my dad?" And I didn't realize that I really needed to lose weight. I wanted to lose some for the cruise because we go snorkeling and we're swimming and stuff. So I wanted to lose some for the cruise, but I didn't realize I really needed to lose weight. Maybe I did know and was in denial about it. But Coastal Weight Loss Secret, it works. I've done 0 exercise. I'm eating food I would normally eat. I'm not hungry, and I'm not taking any prescriptions like Ozempic. Give them a call. And when you call, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the True Oldies channel. 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightlossecret.com. We'll be right back. All right, you there, Steve?
Yes.
All right, hang in there. I'll take some calls when we get back. Yeah, the order stars Jude Law. It was good until that crap at the end saying that the order are MAGA, but but it was good up until then. And the guy that played Alan Berg, Steve, oh my gosh. I think that
Who was it?
I don't know who he was, but he was really good. And they showed him talking to callers, and he said a couple of things word for word that I say and you say all the time.
Really?
Oh my gosh! I don't know. Maybe they monitored us for the script.
It all goes back to Joe Pine.
It sounded like one of the conversations is like a total take on a conversation I've had with that idiot Tom. I can't remember what the exact line was, but I've said the same thing word for word. What was it? I can't remember. I'll think of it. But it was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that anymore because, it got Alan Berg killed. Well, you shouldn't have been reaming those people out like that. He knew who they were. All right, 20 seconds. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. Steve Kane is here. You want to take some calls, Steve?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, let's see what we got here. Hold on. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Brian.
Yeah.
My name is Will from Ohio. How are you doing today?
All right, Will, what's on your mind?
Hey, Will, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Steve. It's a little cloudy here, but I heard it's raining down there from Florida for you guys, so a little bit better.
Yes, it is.
Another Democrat calling in. I just want to say that I don't really understand how this is all going to work with the pharmacy, with the pharmaceutical deal that's going on right now. I understand we're tying it to the overseas costs. I just think it's personally, I think it would be better to just do like a Medicare for all system and have
universal health care
on behalf of us.
You guys now on the liberal side, for the first time, there's a light at the end of the tunnel for you. Now that you've got your next candidate, do you know who is the front runner right now? The mayor of Newark.
Oh, the mayor of Newark?
Oh, he's great. He encapsulates everything the Democratic Party is about. You don't like him?
Oh, he's a great
I have
candidate.
no idea what you're talking. I'm from Ohio. I don't.
He got arrested over the weekend. Okay, here's the thing. I mentioned this to a caller earlier about the drug prices, okay? Why? I'll ask you. You obviously didn't hear that call. Why do you think Trump is signing this executive order today on the prescriptions? Caller?
Probably because his polling numbers are dropping.
No, he's got a 51. No, he's got a 51% approval rating among likely voters in the latest Rasmussen daily presidential tracker. His approval ratings are fine.
Rasmussen was also hired by the Trump administration.
Rasmussen is the gold standard. No, his polls are fine. Okay, there's two reasons why. There's two reasons why. Okay, one, we are being overcharged and ripped off while the rest of the world has free drugs or next to free. But the main reason is hold on. Where are most of our prescription drugs manufactured? Where are most of them manufactured?
Here.
No, China.
50% of them are made in
well,
the
that
United
means 50% of them are in China. And when we had the shutdowns and lockdowns, it was a major national security issue. China.
But that's not. Go ahead. But that's not why he did it yesterday.
It's one of the reasons.
He did it yesterday. Is this part that they needed something? See, I'm not quite as online as Brian is, but it was the appropriate place. They decided it was to continue the narrative. They needed something at the end of the weekend.
Well, no, I don't. I don't agree with Steve. I don't agree with Steve on that. And the other, what he's trying to do, and he will do, is he wants the pharmaceuticals to move, the 50% you say are in China, he wants them to move back to the United States. And in exchange for that...
Why did he do it over the weekend?
So that he did it last night at 6:21. He posted on Truth, and he's going to sign it at 9 a.m. because he wanted the news... He wanted to take over the news cycle for the week.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, which is true. But let me finish my thought, and then we'll go to you, caller. So what he'll do is he'll negotiate with the pharmaceuticals. You move back to the U.S., I'm only going to drop them 50%, not 80%. Okay, it's part of the art of the deal to get the pharmaceuticals out of China and back to the United States. Okay, go ahead, caller.
So where I don't see how that's going to work is I guess.
Well, you're a liberal.
I've heard a lot of well, I wouldn't call myself a Democrat, but I am on the left.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree with the Democrats probably as much as you do. But we've heard a lot of we're bringing manufacturing back. But now we're hearing that we're getting rid of these tariffs, which I don't understand how that's going to bring any manufacturing back if we're just going to go back to where we were right beforehand.
The tariffs are still be higher. That's a good point you make. And there will be some that don't move back here because we're going to make deals around the country. I mean, around the world. You're right about that. Some may not move, but more will. They're actually one of the things President Trump is going to pass into law. It may be this bill or the next. If you move your manufacturing back to the United States, you can deduct every penny of that move in construction from your corporate taxes. So it'll be free for them to do it. So he has other things to encourage the return of manufacturing other than tariffs.
He has a basket full of these things.
Sorry, what was that?
He has a lot of different Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Exactly, and each week he keeps it's a very carefully worked out narrative that goes on at a very carefully worked out in advance rate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're watching. They'll have another thing like that.
I do agree that it's a very carefully worked out narrative. I don't see how this is really working out well for us right now, especially given the fact that the tax cuts themselves are going to cost $450 billion a year. And on top of that, we're also increasing military spending by $110 billion now. So I'm not really seeing how any of this mathematically lines up.
Well, they have it. First of all, we're getting massive tax cuts coming with this big, beautiful bill that they're putting together right now. Massive tax. Now, again, you have to pay taxes.
Yeah, $450 billion a year.
Yeah, it's massive. The Trump tax cuts will either be extended or made permanent. No taxes on tips, Social Security, or Medicare, or overtime. You know, everything is going right according to plan. He's only been president like 4 months, and all these great things are happening.
But we're doing tax cuts as we raise expenditures.
No, we're cutting expenditures because Elon Musk and Doge have been exposing all this government waste, which you're not factoring
Elon
in.
Musk just recently said that he thinks he'll be able to, by the end of the Trump administration, cut.
The real issue for you, if you want to be honest with yourself, and I hear bits of that in your voice,
yes,
that you have the potential of being honest. The fact is that it doesn't matter what he does, you're not going to like it.
Correct. Yes.
But you don't like him.
Yes.
No, that's not true at all. If this does lower prescription costs, if this does lower prescription costs, I just don't.
What can he do that would make you happy?
I'll give him his flowers. If this lowers prescription costs, trust me, I've seen it in my family how much
it would make you. Just give me one thing
I just
that
did.
if he did, you would call. Wait a minute, you would call the show and say, "Let me say, what a great thing Don Trump just did yesterday." What would that be?
No, 100%. If this legitimately lowers prescription costs, then that would be a good thing. I've seen how much harm that the extremely high profit that these prescription companies are getting out of us right now.
Sir, it's too early to know if it's going to work or not because it's a work in progress. So why are you assuming it's not going to work?
Well, I could ask the same. Why are you assuming it will work?
No,
you know.
But then you would be answering my question with a question rather than giving me an answer.
Yeah.
So let me repeat my question.
I'm assuming it's not going to work because currently we've flip-flopped on this tariff policy so many times.
When's the last thing he did that you think was great?
That I think is great. In this administration, there hasn't been a single thing that I think has been great.
There you go.
Not a single thing.
All right.
You can take over, Brian.
Yeah, that's that's fine. Hey, listen. Out of all the liberals we've gotten that have called lately, you're a half decent guy. You hear you other liberals out there.
There's more of us out there than you think.
Well, no, there's not. Why? Let me ask you real quick though. I don't want to get into a long answer. Why are you a liberal?
I used to be a conservative.
I didn't ask you that. Why are you a liberal?
No, I'm explaining because I see left. I'm not a liberal. I'm a left-wing person.
Oh, so he doesn't want to own it, Steve.
Policies as being more empathetic.
Give me an example. Give me an example of a modern Democrat. Give me an example of a modern Democrat party position that makes you a liberal that you support.
Not a modern Democratic position. I don't support the Democratic Party in most of their choices.
What's your biggest? What is the biggest liberal issue? What's the biggest liberal issue you support today?
Currently, Medicare for all because of these prescription costs.
Medicare for all, universal health care?
Yes, sir.
Oh my goodness! So you want us to pay for everybody else's health care? That's a disaster. All right, hey, listen, appreciate the call. Welcome to the program, and it's good to hear from somebody. So universal health care. All right. So he used to be a conservative, now he's a communist. Listen, I want to talk about the free doorbell camera offer from Slomin's. Guys, you will love this. Imagine never having to get up to look in the peephole to see who's at your door again. And you can see who's at your door no matter where you are. You might be at the grocery store, you might be on vacation, or you might be, stuck in the bathroom. You get a notification on your cell phone, and you can see who's at your door, and you can get a doorbell camera from Slomin's for free with the installation of your Slomin Shield. Slomin's, they're also going to give you a free customized home security system and professional installation when you use their low-cost central station monitoring. They're giving you an LED touchscreen, a motion detector, 10 contacts, a lifetime warranty, a backup battery, plus you'll receive a free doorbell camera with the installation of your Slomin Shield. Give them a call, 1-833-283-5050. 1-833-283-5050. We'll be right back. Yeah, a liberal that doesn't have to use profanity and everything. Are you there, Steve?
Yes, I
All right,
am.
hang in there. But he didn't want to own being a liberal. I don't blame him. Don't blame him.
Never Trumpers are just that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, 2 minutes. We'll be back.
Bottom of the hour.
Yeah, we'll be back in 2 minutes.
Better be cool.
Mm-hmm.
2 minutes?
Yeah, we'll be back in less than 2 minutes now. Less than 2 minutes. I've been keeping the spots shorter. But yeah.
Way long here.
Mm-hmm. It's a long break.
We gotta be back.
Just over a minute.
Oh.
Less than a minute. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane is here. Okay, so there's a couple other things that they're trying to make a scandal, Steve, out of Qatar wanting to give Trump this 747.
No, that's a joke.
I mean, give me a freaking break. First of all, it's a gift. What's he supposed to insult them and not take the gift?
That's not even worth talking
I mean,
about.
I can't. If that, the reason I bring it up, it's when you look at what the left, what they take issue with Trump, right? It's really sad. It shows you how perfect he's doing.
It's total hypocrisy.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe Boeing should do what the contract they signed requires and get the new Air Force One to President Trump by October, right? Instead of trying to milk more money from the federal government. You know, we've exposed that. You know, Trump signed this deal with Boeing to build the new Air Force One in his first term. And then when Biden came in, they got all corrupt about it. They didn't realize that the boss was coming back. So now they got to deliver the plane. They want more money. They got to deliver the plane for what they agreed to deliver it for, Boeing. But that's going to go nowhere. But there's a couple of other things that are going on that are huge. Okay? Leticia James over the weekend got her subpoena for the grand jury.
That's great news. I saw a picture of her on television over the weekend, and it didn't have any sound under it, but it had her face, and she had tears running down her face. You could tell she'd just been informed of what is about to happen. And it's the first time I've ever seen her get that arrogant look off her puss.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's like I was telling you for that movie, that Conclave was made for like Kamala Harris's America, not Trump's America. She, you know, Leticia James did all this crime. In fact, she is one of the architects of lawfare, because the fake things that she was going after Trump on were her own crimes, right? The mortgage fraud. And when so this is amazing. Yeah, she's facing 30 years, and she's in her late 60s, so that's a life sentence she's facing. And in federal prison, you have to do 80% of your time before you're eligible for parole. So this is a life sentence, okay, for her, unless she's going to live to be 100. And here's the thing. What she went after Trump on is like exactly what she'd been doing. Everyone's talking about this. So what I take from that is this. When these lawfare conspirators got together and said, what can we do? What can we charge him with? Leticia raised her hand and says, I know. And the reason she went after him with this is because since that's her crimes, that's what she knows. What's that old expression that I hate? That's her wheelhouse. Mortgage fraud is her wheelhouse. She knows all the ins and outs. So she knew how to craft a false narrative to go after him on it. So that tells me...
An interesting theory.
Yeah, so that tells me she was at the upper level planning stages from the lawfare. So this is what's going to happen. Some conservatives are saying, yeah, but we're not getting her on the lawfare. We got Al Capone on income tax evasion, not for the murders, right? You get people for what you can get. I agree with you. She looked terrified. She's facing a life sentence. They have her signature on so many fraudulent documents. You know, you close on a mortgage, it's a lot of times you sign your name. So they literally have hundreds, if not thousands, of pages with her signature on them committing this fraud over the years.
Plus, my guess is that she'll never be able to practice law again. And my second guess is she probably isn't good at much else.
Unless she wants to be a jailhouse lawyer, give advice to the other inmates, you know. But yeah. But to me, because she's facing so much time and they have her signature on all the evidence and she looks like she's about to break, they may make a deal with her. She may be a very cooperating witness that starts singing like a canary. They may not need a witness. They may have enough evidence on these people, but she's going to try to make a deal. She looked like they broke her, but like what I was saying was she did all this crime expecting Biden or Kamala to be president. She never realized they'd be coming after her. And that goes for all these lawfare people. They had convinced themselves of this. They don't understand MAGA people. They have this stereotype of us. So what they tell themselves, these MAGA crazies, they support law and order. If we get Trump arrested, they'll drop him. They got him arrested. That didn't work. So they said, okay, we got to get a mugshot. If we get a mugshot, they'll drop him, these MAGA. They got a mugshot. Yeah. It didn't work. Then they don't get it.
It up from the beginning.
Yeah. Then they said, well, if we get a conviction, so then they got 34 fake convictions from that corrupt judge. Still didn't work. He got elected after. So they don't understand, and they've got evidence everywhere, like Leticia. So you want to take a lot of satisfaction in this. Leticia James is the first lawfare person that we know of that's got a grand jury subpoena. There may be other indictments that are sealed we don't know about. Then, over the weekend, Dan Bongino released a statement online, a very long statement, saying, don't believe what you're hearing, things are coming. And it was very long and wordy, but he was talking about the lawfare. And he said they were a little distracted by the immigration roundups and stuff. But he said, don't let these other people tell you we're not doing things. Things are about to happen. So, this is great news. And I'm a little unclear. Is that New York statue of Leticia James real? Did they really put a statue of her up in New York City?
Yeah, I've seen the picture on television. It doesn't look real to me.
I thought it was like a joke. I thought it was a joke. They really erected a statue for Leticia? Oh, boy. I hope President Trump goes to court when she's arraigned, like she did when he was arraigned. And then, remember, she sat there and stared at him because she was posing for the Time magazine cover or something. Trump should do the same thing. Show up in court when she's arraigned. But there's no cameras in federal courts. Oh, well. Maybe we'll get the perp walk. But I take that as... And they're moving quick, right? Because they announced there's a grand jury, and then the next day, we got that she got the subpoena. So that's it. She's going to prison.
We set the pace.
Yeah, she's going to prison. So we got that. It was confirmed on Friday that after we got off the air that Trump made the UK trade deal. We got that. We got the China trade deal they announced yesterday. That's great. And then we've got the peace talks, in-person meetings with Zelensky and Putin. And that may happen Thursday. But and an in-person meeting is huge because Putin does not even recognize Ukraine as a country. So he doesn't recognize Zelensky as a president of anything, right? So for Putin to get into a room face to face with Zelensky is pretty big, and they say Trump brokered that. So over the weekend, President Trump has done 4 things that should get him the Nobel Peace Prize, but there's been 5 major victories for President Trump just over the weekend, right? The UK deal.
But basically, it's that way every week, and now it's going to get intense because he's got to pass this budget, and that's going to occupy the next month or so.
Oh, that's going to go through. Don't worry about the big beautiful bill. We got the big beautiful bill.
Yeah.
It's going to pass. See, and this is another thing, okay? A lot of conservatives, a lot of MAGA people are going after President Trump over the weekend. There's a story that this Congress has passed 70% fewer bills than other Congresses with a president right after they were elected. That's by Trump's design. Instead of having a bunch of small bills that are endlessly debated, they're having this big, beautiful bill that's filled with so much, Steve, they're not going to be able to stop it, right? There's so many things are going to be in this. They may be able to highlight a couple of things, the left or the media, that they don't like, but it's so overloaded with things that will be on the MAGA agenda. It's like in his first term when he got the Anwar drilling through. It was in one of the bills. They had it overloaded. Anwar was in there, and the Democrats didn't even notice. Oh, I left one out. Judge Jogn is the United States Attorney for D.C. So this has been 4 or 5 days of just more accomplishments than most presidents get in 8 years. And I got to ask you this. About Judge Jogn. All of a sudden, I see people in the media saying she has a drinking problem. Since when, and what evidence do they have of that? I've never seen her intoxicated, and I think they're confusing her with Pelosi. But they got all these things going out there that she's a drunk, that she's an alcoholic, and that and they're implying that she...
This is the Democratic playbook.
Yeah.
Look at what they've done to Fetterman.
Oh, my goodness.
That's the story.
They were going to make him their nominee. They were going to run him for president. Well,
not anymore.
Well, see, what President Trump has done, he's taking out Democrat opponents, right? You know what happened with Fetterman? He went to
The Democrats are taking Fetterman out.
Well, but Trump is putting things in motion to take down opposing candidates. And I'll give you a couple examples. He invited...
But hold on, let's go. I want to deal with Fetterman because you understand what's going on with Fetterman, right?
Yes. Yeah. What's
going on?
He's in a red state now, Pennsylvania. So he's moving to the right so he can get reelected.
Right.
Because it's a red state and he's a Democrat. So so the Democrats want him out. And they're doing everything they can do to get rid of him. But what happened with...
Exactly, even though he's one of their own.
Yes, but Trump put that in motion. He invited him to Mar-a-Lago, and he went. Yes. And then he said good things. So Trump took out Fetterman. He brought Governor Whitmer up to speak with him and then kissed her on the cheek. She's done. Stephen A. Smith, that TV commentator, is talking about running for president as a Democrat. Trump called... called him live on the air and endorsed him, said he'd be a great candidate for the Democrats. He's out. Trump is taken out by socializing, complimenting, and in some instances, kissing the Democrats. And every time he does that, they're out. So they're left with Newsom.
And what he's doing is one by one eliminating all the semi-reasonable Democrats that there are out there.
So, yeah, he hasn't taken out Newsom yet, but he may. Or maybe he wants Newsom to be the guy. So
Newsom is not. I don't think Newsom is electable.
No, but Newsom thinks he is. Now I got to tell you, it is raining cats and dogs here in South Florida right now. It's hurricane season. It's rainy season, I'm going to give you Tom Laporta's cell phone number from Laporta Roofing, okay? Write this down and put it on your refrigerator. If you have a wet spot on your ceiling now, you've got a leak in your roof. And those of you that are new to Florida may not understand how this works, okay? When we get a hurricane or a tropical storm, in a tropical storm, you get hurricane force winds. Those winds from hurricanes and tropical storms are always looking for an entryway into your home. You got a leak in your roof, which that wet spot will tell you. You've got a loose shingle or a loose tile in your roof. The winds will use that loose shingle or tile to enter your home, and boom, your roof's gone. Okay? So call Tom Laporta. You know, Tom Laporta covers both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between. He'll never sell you a roof you do not need. He's a good MAGA guy. And what that means is that if you just need a repair, he'll do it. He works on every type of structure, commercial, residential, and municipal, and with every type of roofing material, too. Give him a call. This number rings directly to Tom Laporta's cell phone at Laporta Roofing. The cell phone in his pocket. You can also text 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. Or online, laportaroofing.com. We'll be right back. All right, see if I can put you on hold while I call Youngerman. Hold on. Hey there, hold on. Steve, you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'm going to conference William in. Hold on. All right, William, 30 seconds.
Okay.
All right, it's time to check in with William Youngerman from the offices of William Youngerman Incorporated in Boca with the Morning Gold and Precious Metals Report. William Youngerman, how are the metals starting off the week?
Well, metals are starting off much lower on a lot of news coming out of Washington as the Trump seems to be making progress with the China trade deal and the tariffs being put on hold for 90 days with the reduced numbers, pushing the stock market much higher this morning, and the U.S. dollar very strong on that kind of news. Gold last week closed out the week up $19.10 on Friday at $3,323.30 after trading in a range of $3,319 all the way up to $3,348. Friday, silver closed up 28 cents at $32.69, while platinum was up $19 at $999, and palladium was up $3 at $962. Overnight, we saw gold trade in a range of $32.06 on the low, up to $33.09. Right now, we're at $3,230 on gold. That's down $93.30. So those of you who've been waiting for a pullback, today might be the day. How long it lasts, we'll see. Silver down 39 cents at $32.30 the ounce. Platinum down $19, losing exactly what it gained on Friday at $980. And palladium down $18 at $945. So lots of news going on. We'll see where it all ends up. But as of now, the dollar is very strong, pushing gold lower on trade tariffs news.
Well, that's one of those days that I call it the metals are on sale today. So guys, you hear that? And William Youngerman, the metal sale starts at 10 a.m. when he opens up, and it's a great time to jump in. Now, remember, with William Youngerman, all the metals are available for immediate delivery, So you walk in and you pay and you walk out with your medals in hand. Or you can do your transactions over the phone and through the mail as well. Give William Youngerman a call after 10 a.m. Toll free 1-800-327-5010. 1-800-327-5010. Or stop in at 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca on the first floor of the Bank of America building, just east of US 1 Federal Highway on the south side of Palmetto Park Road. And find both his phone number and address online at williamyoungerman.com. All right, William Youngerman, we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay, have a great day. Thank you.
All right, take care. All right, and we are back. You're listening to the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. And Steve, I got to tell you, when President Trump announced yesterday, any three of these things is a major news day, right? China trade deal, summit with Zelensky and Putin, and then number three, the prescription executive order that he's going to sign. And I want to thank the president for scheduling the signing after we go off the air at 9 o'clock. I guess that's just
he always does that.
Yeah, that he doesn't want to interrupt us, and I appreciate that, President Trump. I think out of all three, the prescription drugs is the one that got me the most excited. You know, there are so many people in this country that don't take their full dose of medication because they can't afford it. They skip doses, they skip days, or they're cutting their pills in half, and they're not getting the proper dosage. Some people don't even get that. They don't even get the prescription because of it. And, you know, that caller earlier, I had a caller earlier, Steve, and he said this is like Tariff 2.0. It's another one of those things where we're funding the world, right? We're funding the entire world with the medications, and it's just got to stop, and it's going to stop. All right, you want to take some calls?
Yes.
All right, let's go. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Morning, Stephen Bryan. It's JJ from Mass.
Oh, hey, JJ.
Hey, guys.
What's happening?
Drug prices are coming down. It's going to be wonderful for the entire country. The most favored nation, what Trump has done here is most people don't understand that we, the United States of America, have been subsidizing medicine and health care throughout the world, basically sort of like the Marshall Plan.
Yes.
For a very long time. Even when we manufactured the medicine here, we were still that's why, England and Europe and other countries can have these social, wonderful, supposedly wonderful medical programs. Like the lady who called in earlier today, worried about her husband.
Oh, the pharmacist wife. The pharmacist wife,
yes.
yeah.
Pharmacists, we're going to need more pharmacists. You have to understand the economics of scale here. We're just basically, we're going to be paying less. The rest of the world is going to be paying more. And because we're paying less, the people in the United States are going to spend more money, like you had talked about, Brian. People are skipping this and skipping that. Those people are now going to be able to afford that medicine. We're going to need
They're going to make it up in volume. What you're saying is they're going to make it up in volume.
Yes, CVS, the Walgreens, even if listen, if Amazon sends out prescriptions, they still need pharmacists.
That's right.
And I believe a lot of people still get their stuff at the local drugstore, CVS,
absolutely,
Walgreens, Walmart, and pharmacists, they're not going to lose their jobs. That poor lady needs to forget the negativity and the fear. This is a wonderful, it's a beautiful thing. Our NHE for 2024, Brian, do you know what that was? It was $5 trillion in 2024.
But what I believe, I mentioned this to Steve earlier, and I think most of he obviously wants to save people money, but a big chunk of it is to bring the medication manufacturing back here from China. That is such a national security issue where China could kill how many people worldwide just by shutting down the pharmaceutical plants.
Exactly. We can never be under the thumb of anybody like that because, China is an evil, not all the Chinese people are evil, but their government is
Their government's worse than the Soviet Union was towards us. I mean, I know Stalin did the purges and all, but I'm talking about towards us. China's a bigger threat than this country has ever faced because, I mean, the one caller, the liberal guy, said 50% of the medications are made here, 50% there. I don't know what the breakdown is. But what medication?
No, it's more in China. It's more in China, but it's all coming back.
It's more in China, and these are, that's a young guy. He doesn't understand. We're talking about medications that keep people alive.
Yep.
We're not talking about Bayer aspirin here from Germany.
And from Biden's administration, Brian, it really, inflation is the tax that nobody really understands but everybody feels. And what Trump has done here is he's basically he's pushing the cost of medicine out. I mean, if we pay $100 for a pill here, Canada might pay $50, Mexico $40, $30 to Latin America, $20 down.
I think you're being
South
generous.
America. When you get over to Europe, well, yeah, those are the percentages. Let's just say, to 10. But you get to Africa, they're paying 5% or no percent.
That's right.
But they're still getting paid. They're making the money.
But it's an interesting thing.
They donate that medicine. They donate the medicine, and they take a tax write-off.
The other day, I got a call from a guy from France on the show. It was I think Wednesday or Thursday last week, and he says, "Well, you guys should." He said, "You guys should be paying more. You've got more money than the rest of the world." Well, that's nice for him to say in France. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Voulez-vous? No.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to get moral lessons from a country that's been giving protection to Roman Polanski for 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised. I'm surprised P. Diddy didn't go to France and move next door to Polanski.
Yeah, they could have started their own baby oil,
P. Diddy, let me tell you, P. Diddy deserves to be convicted and go to prison just for being so arrogant he didn't flee to France.
Yeah, arrogant, stupidity. Those are usually, like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
Brian, you talked about this Conclave movie, and it's so friggin' disgusting. And the people talk. The one lady calling in, is a hermaphrodite. Give me a
Then
break.
why? No, he was a woman.
Hate movie.
He would not.
It's a hate movie, a hit piece. It's insanity. Don't watch that friggin' movie.
At the end of Conclave, when he wouldn't let the priest help him get dressed, it's because he has breast and a vagina, and that's what he was hiding.
It's insane.
Yes.
It's insane that people even think that that is okay. That's done.
Oh yeah, the hey Brian, she basically said, Brian, you're overreacting. He was a hermaphrodite, not a trans. Oh okay. Okay.
Oh my God. They hate Christians. The Biden administration went after Catholics. And listen, this new Pope, give peace a chance. Give the Pope a chance. This is God's will. This is the apostolic succession to the chair of St. Peter. This is God's will.
Yes.
For Christ's sake, and I mean H,
in a good way, not in
H-I-S.
profanity. All right, listen, I appreciate the call. All right, appreciate the call. If he's going to come to America, the Pope, because he's American, he's going to do a tour. I know he'll go to Chicago. If he comes to Miami, I'm going to go see him. I don't think I'll get to beat him, but I'm going to go see. But I saw him like high-fiving people. I've never seen a Pope do that. But his brother in Chicago, Steve, he's got two brothers, a Chicago brother and a Florida brother. His Florida brother's MAGA. He blames the Never Trumpers for shooting Trump and Butler. And did you hear what he said about Pelosi?
The Pope quite a mouth on him.
He said Pelosi's a drunken C-word, and they're giving him a hard time, but truth is a defense, So, we got a good MAGA family with the Popes. But his Chicago brother was doing an interview, and he had missed a bunch of calls from the Pope. And the Pope called while he was doing this interview for CBS. And his brother answers the phone, and the Pope says, "Why don't you answer your phone?" I've never heard a Pope talk that way. And he said, "We're on the air."
I'll tell you what I worry about. And that's on the immigration issue.
Because don't worry.
Well, hold on. I'll tell you why I'm worried about it. You know about the what do they call them? NGOs?
Yes. National Council.
What is NGO stand?
Yeah, the non-governmental organizations, the National Council of Churches, and all that.
That's all the Catholic Church.
Well, the commie wing of it.
America.
The commie wing of it.
What?
The commie wing, like the National Council of Churches.
Yeah, but it's the wing that's dedicated towards taking money from the U.S. government and gratuitously, it's tax deductible, and gratuitously using it to bring these scumbags that were.
Well, listen, he's MAGA on some big issues. If he's liberal on one, I'll give him a pass. But I want to tell you.
Yeah, but that's a bad one.
Well, we're not going to get 100% from the Pope, but we're running short on time. And I was talking earlier about all the weight I've lost with Coastal Weight Loss Secret, and not only have I lost over 35 pounds, and I feel great, I look great, and you guys have been letting me know how much weight I've lost, which is really awesome. Because I know a lot of the liberals in this audience were hoping it wouldn't work, but it worked. I've lost all this weight. One of the big things I've noticed is I'm not hungry. And I used to be so hungry, especially at this point in the show. I would say, I don't know how many times I've said over the years, I'm starving. I can't wait to get off the air to eat. I'm not hungry like that anymore. And it's absolutely amazing. Give Coastal Weight Loss Secret a call. Maybe you want to lose 20 pounds, 50, 100, 250. It works, and I'm living, walking proof of it. Give them a call. When you call, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the True Oldies channel, 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300, and online, coastalweightloss.secret.com. Well, Steve, we're out of time for today, but it's a great day. And, of course, we'll all be watching the president sign the executive order in just a bit. You're listening to the Steve Kane Radio Show. Steve Kane is here. My name is Brian Craig. Callers on hold, stand by. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., and if you're on hold, you'll be first in line tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. This is Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. Take care. God bless Donald Trump. See you tomorrow. All right, we're out. Hey, listen, if you're new, make sure you subscribe, guys. What a great calls today. It's a great day. And I got to run because I got a lot of stuff to do today. But thanks for watching. And again, make sure you subscribe. I'm Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Take care.